This is Aerois! Hello.
There it is.
Welcome. Oh, look at this. Friendly faces. Gosh, we've missed you, haven't we? You've missed us. I've missed you, you've missed me, I've missed them. But we're all here together again for a lovely little High Rollers stream. Ooh, delightful. I'm joined, as always, by my dear friends, the cast of High Rollers themselves. But what's this strange combination? We've got Rhiannon, we've got Kim,
Hello.
we've got Tom.
Hey, gamers.
And then on the other side, we've got Trot and we've got Katie. Now, you might be thinking, oh, is this the setup they're going to be in for Campaign 3? No, it was just because Trot needed to be sat
I
there.
need to be next to this box.
And-
isn't it?
Next to the
I don't
box.
know where the USB extension cables are.
I need to be a buffer between
Yes.
these two.
They're getting closer. I'm a little worried.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
No!
Right.
No!
Right.
No! Hold!
This-
Everybody hold!
Hold the line! But this is why we won't be in this configuration for Campaign 3. And the other thing you might notice is
You are so sweaty.
the last time we were here, we were in a black void. We are not in a black void anymore, but we are in a work in progress.
Work in progress.
It is ongoing, so this won't necessarily.
riding the whip.
This will give you an idea of where the set's going, but it's not finished yet.
Work in progress.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at that.
Don't open it.
Don't open it.
It's beautiful.
But a special book.
There's a lot of names in there.
There's a lot of names.
If you don't know what that is, by the way, if you're just joining us, that is the book with all the Patreon names that we did when we did the studio build.
680 names. No, 700 names.
No, 900 names. 1,000 names.
I have 200 to go.
2,000
I have
names.
200 to go.
20,000 names within one book.
But wait, there's more.
A million names.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Patreon, nice segue. Keep supporting us on there. That's real cool.
Oh.
There's behind the scenes updates going up pretty regularly now with the set build, the studio build, and so on. You also get those on YouTube members.
I also think we should probably do a thing for the thing that's happening soon. We can do some Patreon sneaky peeks about that as
We
well.
absolutely can. We absolutely can indeed. Also, yeah, Twitch subs now get access to these videos as well, all through the Discord. So check out those channels you have access to if you are a Twitch sub. Or if you've been gifted a sub, then you are getting a lot for it.
It's been doing that for like a few minutes now.
So yeah, that's
What
pretty
the
cool,
fuck?
huh?
What was that?
He's pogging.
So, yeah,
Pogging.
go to the Discord is what I'm saying. Discord is the place to be, the place to live, the place to drink.
The happening place.
The
All the cool
happening place.
kids. All the
Hip,
cool
hip
cats.
happening.
Hip
Wow.
happening. So, what are we doing today? We're not doing a regular High Rollers. We're not doing a D&D. We're not doing an RPG. What we are doing is we're doing a little Q&A that was organised mainly Kim organised it with the help of our
With the help of
Discord
the
mods.
mods. The mods.
Yes, I was going to
I
mention the
drew a
mods.
paint picture.
Very good. But we had Kim and the mods have put together a big old Q&A about Aerois.
Amazing.
Aerois.
And you know what that means?
Aeolius.
Spoilies ahead. If you are not
yeah,
caught
that's
up
true.
on Aerois or indeed finished it, then get
Get out of here.
Go off.
Go home. Or not. Just
Get out of here!
have it spoiled for you.
Leave!
Be gone, foul demons!
I forgot
Son of a-
Tom's like this when he hasn't been on camera for a while.
To be honest, I'm kind of...
I'm very loud.
No, I'm picking it up. I'm picking up Tom's energy today. Tom,
shit.
I'm there with you, buddy.
Look, if you don't match me, then I'm going to crash hard and I'm going to get
He
real
opened the
depressed.
door with a LARP sword earlier and said to Tom and Trot that they couldn't come in without the pass.
Solve me these riddles 3! But yeah, so we're going to be doing a little Q&A today, just answering some of the burning questions that have lingered from finishing up our big 5-year campaign, Aerois.
And now it's all finished.
It's all finished.
All secrets revealed. I have a question to open up with.
Oh,
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Oh, cool. That's good to hear. I'm glad.
buddy. I'm not going to ask you how you are. So
Oh, cold.
sad. But there is, before we jump into the Q&A, I do want to mention one thing.
That's my trigger.
I love Coke.
I love it. Sponsor us, please. One thing I'm going to say, well, we can't talk about it too much right now, but keep an eye on our Twitter and our social medias because in the next couple of weeks, a very cool thing is happening. Oh, it's so good. And
That's
it came out of
enormous.
nowhere, and I can't talk about it, and I'm really excited.
I will throw water
It's-
at you if you say anything today.
But
Something I guarantee everyone will love. It's
Everyone.
cool
It's
gonna
as
be awesome.
heck.
yeah.
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 I'm not gonna say, if I
all
don't
you
move
can
on, I'm
say.
going to say something.
That's all
Keep
you
an
got.
eye. Keep an eye on our social media. Keep an eye on the Patreon because there will be some cool
Book
stuff.
off the next few weeks
Oh.
on holiday.
One thing I can talk about, which just got literally announced, I think today, is that I'm going to be doing a one-shot at MCM Comic Con on the Friday. I'm going to be joined by Johnny Gianni from Oxventure. We're joined by Jasper from Three Black Halflings, and a couple of other folks who I've not had the Liv Kennedy as well from Three Black Halflings and Dicebreaker, and some other folks who I've not had the pleasure of meeting yet. But I'm going to be there. That is on Friday. In the creator stage, I will, if you go on my Twitter, I've retweeted it. You can go check that out. I'm also going to be doing a signing at MCM Comic Con on the Friday
Get you.
as well. So
I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to
you up.
What,
Please do.
what dates are those?
Friday. It's all on Friday.
What Friday?
Friday,
October.
the end of October.
Right, there we go.
But go on my Twitter, it's all there. But if you're going to MCM, I know like Crit Roll are going to be there. We got a load of other folks, special guests in that.
We're not there.
I am there,
Just Mark,
but High
just
Rolls
Mark.
are not
Just
there.
this one.
We weren't allowed in.
We're not allowed.
They were like,
Yes.
Mike can come in, but if we see those others.
Yeah.
The best
We're not
High
allowed.
Roller is
What's Twitter?
X.
Yeah, it's not
Sorry.
just X.
Sorry, X.
Sorry.
Zeet. Check
second.
my Zeet.
Follow me for my zeets.
Zollo me on Zitter for my Zeets.
And Z post it.
And Z post it. But sure as
Sorry
hell
about this profile picture.
don't zansel me.
Zyke and Zolo.
Kingdom Hearts.
Hey, everyone.
Jesus Christ.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribes. All right, but that's it. A couple of little announcements. Keep an eye on our social media. If you're heading to MCM, I'll be there on Friday. I'll be around for the rest of the weekend, but you'll only recognise me on Friday. So see you then. And then that's it. We're going to jump into some Q&A.
Hey, which one of you ding dang doodlies want to go first?
Well, I think we should start with the
Start
top
with
question
general.
for everybody.
Oh, have we got
We've got it
Yes.
here. We'll ask it. Don't worry.
All right,
is it in Discord?
let's open up with.
We can
There's
just
so
read
much
the-
time.
Trot, we can
Literally,
just read
making
the
sure
question.
everyone had this.
This ate into Baldur's Gate time.
Let's open up with by entering the what was your favourite segment of the show
thanks,
question,
No.
and we'll come back to the what was your favourite segment
'Cause there's
quite
a
frequently
lot.
because there are a
It's
few.
in general.
This question had 24 upvotes on the various different places
Discord.
you could Discord. What was your favourite boss fight and why?
Kalara.
Bam straight in.
I was going to say Kalara had me shaking.
I think out of all of them, Clara,
Bless you.
and it's very specifically for the specific moment of the second phase. Like when I did that
Yes.
transition, and I think yeah, and then just like the whole speech, and then bringing the mini down, and the new background, and like the new map, and I think Tom literally said something along the lines of like, "This is the coolest fucking shit that has ever happened." And it's just like my DM pride was at like max level.
I
at that
remember
point.
it was like
so
a
good.
3-minute speech, and all of it was so good. And at the end of it, we were just like, "We give up.
Surrender.
We want
Take
to
me.
die here."
Yeah.
I think that one was definitely a big one that like,
It was very like Heaven's War.
Yeah, yes.
focused
It
as
was
well, which is
awesome.
just
Yes.
primo.
I'm gonna say, actually, Callus Starbane.
it's very good as well.
Because of again the phases.
Which one?
And the one where he was testing us.
Not the one previously where I told him to fuck off when he was helping us.
No,
That
that
wasn't
was
really a
because he
boss,
was
yeah.
with us. He
just
wasn't
like a hero
fighting
fight.
us.
Felt
He
like
was
a boss
with,
fight to
he was
me.
with us.
Because you don't know fucking.
You were the boss.
But like the one where he was testing if we were good enough to go.
Yeah,
up
there was a
against
real
Thor.
proper fight.
And it was like the 3 phase with the heavy armor to the light armor, and then I just remember that last bit where
That
it was
was
a
the best.
fist fight, and you went into like mega fucking like,
being hot.
you know, it was
so
you were
good.
coming high,
I mean,
high everywhere.
it was a brutal fist fight between Callus and Ayla, sorry.
Yeah, and
and he was
that was
throwing
like-
rocks at Quill's
Yeah.
going down. And I took a rock to
we
the
were
face
all
and.
fucked, and then like it was just Starbane and Ayla just duking
And
out.
Quill off to the side.
No, I was still
Bleeding
up,
out.
just
Yeah.
He
screaming.
was still up. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
fucking
Will was
screaming.
still up and he was like, I'm coming for you next.
Yeah, I think that was the bit when you were like, you were focusing on Ayla but threatening the rest of us, and we're just like, no.
I think what made that one special, because I think that with the Callus fight, you know, the first 2 phases were kind of similar to everything we'd done up to that point. And then from a DM's perspective, that was a fight that like was such a big build-up because like Callus had been throughout this whole campaign, and I felt like I had done the foreshadowing right where like when you first met him, you were like, we cannot fight this man, we're fucked.
Yeah.
And then the next time you kind of like really interacted with him, you were fighting alongside him.
Yeah.
So you got to see like a glimpse of his power, but didn't really show it off too much. And then you fought him properly, and it was this big build-up. It kind of had this big payoff. It felt really rewarding for you guys that like you got to fight him, and it was such a tense battle.
Yeah.
But then also as a GM, I purposely didn't really write down the mechanics for that third phase. I was like, I'm gonna basically push it until it feels right. And like I had a couple of little notes about like his relentless rage and stuff, and just to have it come down to like Ayla and Callus just slugging each other out, just bam, 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 just exchanging blows, and then just rolling saves. And it came down to con saves.
I could do this all day.
Yeah, just like bam, bam.
Someone's
Very
pointed out another detail was when Ayla threw her hammer, Callus caught it. Well, this is a fine weapon, and then threw it a century. It was just like,
that was so good.
There were so many just instant, like out of nowhere lines where I think all of us were just like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was
We
cool
all
as
got
hell.
swept up in the RP as well, because as soon as I started like unleashing Callus's emotional side, you guys were like, whoa! Like I remember like Rhiannon was just like, yes!
I think it's what
She gets knocked unconscious, but she's like, yeah!
It was that thing as well where everything sped up and we were all just like, it was gut instinct. We weren't like going, oh, is this to whatever? It was like gut instinct, like react, like act, react, act, react, act, react. And it was just like that really fast paced, like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
We gotta fucking duke it out. Like,
And that's like a thing, like you have like those moments where the mechanics are really complex and stuff, but then actually sometimes it's those bits which really come down. I don't think we actually asked Trot and Katie yet as well, like just to quickly round that up. We've talked about our fight, it's probably going to be...
I mean, I liked both of those fights as well, but Zarkira is probably a good one to mention. The
I was
final
gonna-
Zarkira fight was like...
And I want to make a point actually on
intense.
that. I personally see Zarkira as she was the final boss. Like
She
I know
kind of
Hadar
felt like
kind
she
of was,
I
but
felt
I feel like Zarkira, because like for me personally, Zarkira was the last enemy that was going to be like really maliciously out to kill you guys.
Yeah.
Like Hadar obviously was going to try and fight you and stop you, but wasn't like didn't hate you.
yeah.
Zarkira hated
I
you.
mean, she was also just a consistent threat.
Yeah.
throughout the
Yeah,
time.
She had a
was
lot more
huge
impact.
threat.
She took your eye as
She took my
well.
fucking
Held
eye.
you prisoner
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah, she took my memories.
Yeah, and she was just, and you always like were finding
almost
little bits
took the
about her
entire
having an
ship out.
influence in
She
stuff.
was just genuinely like just evil. She
Also,
was
literally the
pure
reason
evil.
Hesper died.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was...
That was a
I don't
good
think there was
fight.
anything
bad.
she didn't take from me.
And that was the fun
wing.
one because it was again like
Your
that
big
was
B.
the idea of her fight
little one.
was the one that I had for so long because I had the minis, I had
Yeah.
the two Warhammers.
Yeah.
I was like, that is, and that's why I based their character on. Like I based her design on that mini, and I was like, these are the ones I'm going to use. So, what about Trot?
I was thinking earlier on, because obviously these big
these-
end ones
Very very
are super fresh, and obviously at this point you're like 5 years deep of refining your boss mechanics. But I'm trying to think of earlier pivotal moments, which were more like roleplay focused. And I'm thinking back, initially, this was the first time we saw someone Hadar touched, and it was in the church. And they revealed their void eyes.
Oh yeah,
They had big
in the
sword.
night, yeah.
The night eyes.
Killed me.
The one that killed Quill. That really stood out for me.
Yeah,
boss that
when the
killed
helmet
Quill.
came up and it was just the
Herald.
void. Yeah, that was terrifying.
And
thought
that was also
pretty
a
dope.
fight where I started really introducing some more kind of complex elements of the fight and like using abilities. Like I remember when she put the wall and Ayla was like, I can't get
get
to
through.
you because I blocked you off.
Yeah.
And like there was this panic moment in all of your faces where you were like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like suddenly this like warrior who we know is like capable of doing loads of damage and tanking now can't come and help.
Yeah.
And we've got other people down. And I think that was like, you guys were like, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like, and those moments, like, I know, appreciate for you guys, they're stressful. You guys don't want your characters to die, but they also create those moments where, like, the tension is so high that actually, when you come out of it, or even if characters do die, it really has impact.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but Quill died, so it's one of my favorites.
Trying
Nice.
to think, like, yeah, Quill died basically most
All the big
boss
ones.
fights, I think. Was it?
All
Well, I
lost
think Quill
to
died
Lynn.
because Rhiannon forgot that she had a healing potion. I think.
That was that. Yeah,
We're just
no,
gonna
I
take
don't
that
worry.
back up.
I didn't forget that. Don't think that you reminded me of that.
That was quite funny.
That was pretty good.
It was just the moment of realization. You were like,
Well, because you forget that stuff in the middle of it. You absolutely do.
I mean, I don't blame you.
Oh, the Goliath fight was quite good. I remember.
I was going to say, so
That was-
technically,
yeah.
that Goliath was the first Hadar touched.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you just didn't
correct.
know at the time.
You took my fucking eye too.
Yeah,
He did, right? There's a lot of
He was the
eye
first one who took
gouging,
your eye.
Yeah, because that was brutal, that fight.
Well, that was when we were still using
I'm trying to
injury.
think,
Yeah.
like, what
Did he do
fight
something
did
to
I
you
not?
as well? Like ripped
He
apart
destroyed
Echo?
He
Echo,
broke your arm.
yeah.
Yeah.
He destroyed Echo and he broke your arm.
He broke my
Didn't
arm.
he? Yeah.
He did something to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this was the point where I started to realize the injury rules weren't quite working.
Right.
Because it was like, and I think it was by Gusthaven when Quill got his beak blown off. And I was just like, I don't
I
think.
remember
Tom's like, two thumbs up.
I don't think Ayla and
losing.
Sentry have ever had
I
an
didn't
injury.
either.
I think you had like a minor
I had
one at
mucky
one point.
hands for a
Yeah,
bit,
like something
but-
like that.
Yeah.
But
it
like
was
I
cuts and
started to
bruises,
realise that like,
yes.
oh, the characters with the lowest HP and no con bonus
Yeah.
are the ones who are constantly
They're gonna lose every body
Yeah.
part
Like, I
at
was
the
like,
end of the campaign.
probably need to change
Everything's
these rules.
robotic now. It's all replaced with like
Yeah, it's like-
robotic up.
Nicely, there's actually a question for
Segue.
you about this that says.
Question two.
Sujway.
So during the lead up to Aerois, you had implemented new rules such as injury tables and subsequent spells to fix them. Later on, those rules seem to be retired for the usual 5e stuff. As someone who's continuing to improve as a DM, what about the new rules worked, what didn't work, and why were they removed? You
Yeah,
kind of-
I mean, I think that's like for the injury specifically. You know, they create some fun moments early on, and the problem. This is something which I've talked a little bit about in 5e. And this is like a big thing I see in the 5e industry and like in the culture and the community of 5e. You can homebrew a lot of cool stuff, but there are some things which are kind of fundamentally, I'm not going to say broken. The engine of 5e is designed to do a certain thing, and when you try and homebrew stuff that changes that engine, it doesn't always work out because you're trying to basically make the car do something the car isn't supposed to do. You can add on cool things. You can put a cool spoiler on the car. You can paint it a cool color. You can add like a cool gear stick or whatever, but you ultimately can't really change the engine, right? And that's really what you got to with the injury rules is like, D&D is not designed to have an injury system in it. Games like Warhammer, which we've played and we've played with Warhammer, that's designed to have an injury system, and it's built into how HP works. It's built into how armor works. It's built into like every character is as equally, vulnerable to these injuries as anybody else. That doesn't exist in 5e D&D, so that's why those injury rules just didn't quite fit. You would have to find a way to make it so that they have a chance of affecting everybody fairly equally, and it just doesn't really exist.
Tom got ravaged.
What is
by
it?
that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you both did. Like, honestly, Lucius was just as bad. Like, and we found that in the later fights, right? Like, who are the characters who are always going down? Lucius and Quill.
True. The
right?
low AC.
Yeah.
Low AC, low HP. It's why, like, when I was designing high-level monsters as well, like, one of the things I started doing towards the end was really having to think about numbers. When I was designing monsters in the high-level part of Aerois, I just was throwing out the official D&D monsters out the window, and what I would do is I'd go, right, how much does everybody have in HP? What's the average HP of the party? Okay, well that means that a monster, if it deals 20 damage a turn, I'm averaging about 10% of the party's average health. Okay, that seems about right, because they can out-heal that and stuff. Okay, well how much damage does it need to take? How much hit points do I need to give the monster so the fight lasts about 5-6 rounds? Fuck, I need to make this thing like 700 HP because they can output like 200 HP a turn. Like, so you're doing things like that. You're kind of throwing everything else to the side because you have to base it on these characters.
Yeah.
Because in a different party, that might not have been a problem. An injury rule might work perfectly fine if you've got a party where everybody's very equalized, but we didn't have that in Aerois. So.
I think it did start feeling like that in the third act, as it were, where like we were getting like, I was like, oh shit, my HP is down to 20. Like, and you guys were like actually getting knocked like lower, and like it felt a lot more. It wasn't just you to like save the squishy boys. It was like there were moments where I was like, oh god, I can use my tomb. I can do that. I was.
And it's also you guys changed your tactics as well. Like Quill started once Quill could fly again, it meant he was often out of the way. Lucius would often like distance himself.
Yeah.
Like you guys changed your tactics as well. But I think that's the thing is you've got to be as a DM, you've got to be very reactive to this stuff. Like you can't think that like I'm going to put this system in and it's going to work for the whole campaign. It might change, and you've got to think what's fun.
I think it's the same as like towards the end of the campaign. I know there was a hard rule on resurrection for our characters as well. You can only come back once before, and that's it. That's your last chance. But ordinarily in 5e, it's like you can res a million times if you want.
Yeah.
Like eventually it does get to a point where dying has 0 impact, and it was the same with Aerois where people weren't taking injuries anymore. So I think it makes sense that it was phased out naturally, rather than just a hard cut off where someone should have been injured or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it made sense at the time that it was removed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love the rule.
Listen, it did great things, because what it did, the things
Almost
that
killed
worked
Lucius.
for it, like
You
that
almost
injury, like it's moments like
Oh,
that,
the lung.
losing the eye, like Quill losing the eye.
No. No.
Quill losing the eye became such a great plot point.
Yeah.
So that part of it, the narrative part of injuries, works brilliantly.
I think Quill only had 1 wing because I heard about the injury rule.
Yeah.
I think that's why I decided to have him
wanted
lose
to
a
start off.
ring. Wing.
You got injured on the way to the adventure.
that was the intention, is that he'd had a bad injury based on the injury rules prior to the adventure starting, and I think that's what led to that sort of thought in my mind.
But I think what I want to do is I'd like to keep that element to it, but implement a system where it's less about just like, I rolled a bad con save, oh, guess I've lost an arm now, and more about you guys as players making those choices based on things that happen. So like maybe it's like, you roll your 3rd death saving throw, maybe that's when I give you the chance of like, well, maybe like, do you want to die or do you want to have a grievous injury or something like that, and change it. Like, again, spitballing ideas. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I kind of want to keep that part of it.
I think the same as well, like there's a version of it where you could say, well, what if a critical hit causes an injury? But then it's like, I have no control over them rolling a crit.
But also then and this is why I didn't do that, because that's what the variant rule in the DMG is.
Right,
like, if you get a crit. The problem with that is you then factor in, well, monsters often get to make more multiple attacks than players do. So like I had monsters that were making 3, 4, 5 attacks a turn. That's 5 additional chances for me to roll in that 20 and cause an injury to you. Likewise, a sorcerer, you make 1 attack a turn, like if that. A fighter, 5, 6, 7, 8 attacks a turn.
Well, that's
to
why I
injuring
changed to
monsters.
Warlock, because I was getting really frustrated with like, I have 2 spell slots. It took 20 minutes to get to my turn. My spell missed. I was like, cool.
Yep.
I'll wait 20 minutes for my next spell slot. It was just like, it was so boring.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I could hit someone, but with my wee little spellcaster arms, just nothing.
So it's interesting stuff like that. So like even then, like a crit hit doesn't really work because again, it's completely imbalanced. And again, it comes down to the fact that that's not what the engine of D&D is meant to do. It's not a game that is meant to have critical injuries. It is a heroic superhero fantasy game, right? That is what D&D at its core is, right? And that's what the rules work for. Something like Warhammer, a gritty, dark fantasy, is like, you attack the guy, oh, I rolled a crit. Let me roll on the crit injury table. Oh, 100, you're dead. I've chosen. Like that, but you go into that game knowing that can happen. So like,
they've got a table for drunkenness.
Yeah.
That's the kind of
Level
game.
of
That's a game built around
horrible
replacing
things.
your characters
Living in a
often, and
horrible
that's the fun of it.
environment.
But I know the original intention with the injury rule. I don't want to stay on the injury rules for a long time, but it was to stop people from just saying, I've gone down, heal me by 1 HP, I'm back up, I'm in the fight again, I'm down.
And I've got new ways around that as well. Like I've come up with different ways to kind of try and avoid that.
Well, for campaign 3.
For campaign 3, baby.
That's going to come out
At time this year.
Soon.
Blue ball in him there.
Soon, TM.
There's something
Anyway,
cooler
should we
soon.
do another question?
Yeah, hey, who wants to go where?
Do you want to do a
me a
person
direction.
Should we do
question?
a character question?
Sure.
Should we do a sentry question?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Roll
So
for it.
you're at the bottom.
Oh, you're going to roll?
Okay, well, no, we'll do a century question, but next time I'll roll for it.
Shit.
So there you are.
There you go.
So you pick a question from there.
So the first question on the list has the most upvotes. It's
Okay, let's go.
17.
No,
Number
second one
2
does.
Second one has most upvotes. Yep.
The community voted.
So do you want to go with that one?
Let's have a look.
The question is,
Go for it.
how was it to play such a heartfelt protector in Sentry? Was there a particular moment of the campaign that stands out for you because Sentry either succeeded or failed to protect someone?
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I liked playing Sentry. Sentry struck a chord with me, I think, for a while, and she still does. I miss her a lot. It was difficult trying to strike that balance because with Sentry, there's that side where you want her to be vengeful and take revenge against people that wronged her in the past, like Starbane and stuff, but you also have to open yourself up to forgiveness and, you know, being maybe a bit softer. So,
especially being a paladin of like, an Oath of the Ancients paladin and everything else.
So it was tricky trying to strike that balance, but I think towards the end of the campaign especially, I think I managed to find some, I think a satisfying balance towards the end. I hope at least it was satisfying.
100%. I think you played that archetype of like the paladin kind of like embracing this former enemy and like coming to respect him, like seeing the Starbane that you didn't know and sort of like having that mutual respect. For me, it was that moment in the petal shop.
Yeah.
That was the moment where it's like, this is like concreted, like, because you got to have that, like, you ruined my life, like, you caused me so much pain. We had that kind of moment of catharsis, but then him also being like, I do understand, like, you know, kind of like, this is my story, but I'm not trying to make excuses for what I've done, kind of thing. And
that was good.
You know, I think that it was a really good moment, and I think that like mechanically as well, like you're playing a class that does a ton of fucking damage, as we all learn. But you also spec yourself out to be the protector, and like often would step back and be like, I'm gonna move next to Quill and protect him and stuff like that. I think you struck a very good balance.
Oh, thank you. I also think a moment for Sentry, I think that kind of helped me cement her was when we did the first Breeze encounter, and there was that prisoner, and it was like, do you want to kill him and like take his power or save
the
him?
undergroundy bit.
Yep.
And I think that decision really helped.
With the racist that we just let go.
Oh yeah,
and the warden was like, you did what? Sounds suspicious to me!
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite moments. Anyway, back to you, Sentry. What was that like? Like, what were you, was there a moment where you were like, maybe I will take his life? Like,
part of me really like there was like the chaotic side of my brain that was like, it would like if I took his life, what
you do love
chaos.
A deal.
Exactly.
You love a DM deal.
Or like
DM deal.
Descent to Avernus was definitely a.
you just let into that. You were like, let's go.
I look forward to the day that Rhiannon plays a warlock. I'll put it this way.
Yes.
Question 4. What would have happened if Sentry had accepted the ritual to extend their life through human sacrifice in episode 23?
So, so the specific to that was would she have been eligible to become Prime later?
Absolutely not. And you would have not been a paladin anymore.
Yeah.
You would have absolutely become an Oathbreaker or like a Fallen Paladin. Absolutely.
Totally.
It's everything against the Oath of the Ancients. And this is something I told Rhiannon, like when we started, I was like, you have to be a paladin, and if you're not a paladin, you will lose this. Like, it was a big thing, and that's again something I want to take forward. Paladin, warlock, cleric are classes that have roleplay baked into them, and I think that if you forget that, and if you don't play into that, it's very easy to like they just become this generic other. They're a fighter or they're a wizard, a healing wizard or whatever. Paladin is a class that is about its oaths, and if you had taken that deal, if you had aligned with Breeze, I would have basically like gone, okay, and then before the next episode I would have said like, hey, can we have a chat? And I'd be like, you want
How close were you, Rhi? How close?
I'd say it was a 50-50.
That's pretty high.
And there's a big difference as well, because like, there were other moments where like, are you going to fight Callus or are you going to side with him? Are you going to kill Zarkiri or not? That stuff didn't matter because those people had very actively done something wrong. That prisoner was somebody who was completely innocent, and it would have been purely self-gain. There was no kind of like vengeance or I'm working for fighting the greater evil here. That would have been purely, I want to extend my life, I'm going to take somebody else's. And that's an evil act.
So
evil act.
When you say 50-50, was that for Sentry it was a 50-50, or for you was it a 50-50?
For me it was a 50-50.
But what was it for Sentry?
Probably swaying to more, it probably would have been like a 75-25. But like...
Because like Sentry was close to like shutdown.
She was at the time.
Yeah.
And it was also that part of my brain that just loves like not knowing. I love when shit happens and like I'm like, Take me, Jesus. I'm just like,
Jesus, take the wheel.
Take me for this. Like, I just love it for the ride. I love when
chaos.
Stuff like that happens.
You like chaos?
I do.
So on that was Breeze later Veracitor.
Yes.
Was he Hadar influenced then?
Absolutely. That was the beginning of it.
So,
because again, you got to remember what Hadar was all about. It was all about consumption. It was all about taking. That was.
So would that deal, if accepted, had introduce some Hadar influence to Sentry.
Absolutely.
Whoa!
That'd have been good.
Absolutely. And there were other moments like that as well. Like, we didn't get to go into it because it got healed, but Nova with the necrotic hand could have started leaning into it. If you had been using it more to like drain life and drain things like that. Again, it's that
crown
same.
rend.
Not even like you necessarily like a crown, like a sentient thing, but like draining more power, gaining more powerful, beginning to kind of feel that connection and stuff like that. There's a couple of moments like
Thanks,
that. Like,
Brianna, for fixing that shit up.
it was definitely like elements of that where like
It wasn't Verlano.
it was Celestials.
Yeah.
When you were out in the
When
planes.
you're in astral planes, yeah.
Before they deserted.
But it's just I didn't use it.
Yeah.
I never used the hand.
Nova was
in
like, I
combat.
hate you. Were like, I hate this
Yeah.
thing. I don't want it to.
Because
like,
I had like attack rolls and stuff for it and stuff it could do in fights, like damage and stuff, necrotic damage, but I never used it in a fight.
I just want to say, I loved the escape from that space station.
Yeah.
With the
Aegis 5. Yeah.
That was awesome.
that
So that
to
was
me.
another moment where Quill almost died.
I love that moment.
And we all died to
Because I forgot about concentration on
You got
fly.
withered on?
Yeah.
Love it.
It was that. I think it highlighted to me moments like that, the escape in Aegis 5 and stuff like that, where you don't. And this is a big thing about D&D and philosophy of D&D encounter design. You don't need to have every encounter be against like a big scary monster. It's actually more about the objective. Like that we need to escape. We need to protect this person. We need to extinguish in the forge encounter, right? We need to power up these forges. That stuff is way more interesting than just here's the monster, get its hit points to 0, right? And that proved that. Like Shansara was never meant to be an enemy that was going to like put you on low hit points. That whole encounter was designed to get you to the bottom. You have like an encounter, and now you have to get back up and escape.
out,
And she's sending this shit after you to try and stop you.
Yeah.
That was also the start of the whole wild elf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
when
the first thing I found out
Ayla
about
went through the door.
Should you jump across? Because there's a lot of questions.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
I always get
Let's
distracted.
do an Ayla question because there's
Probably
some Ayla,
answering other questions.
questions.
Thanks for the questions.
Okay, I got one. Do you want it? Or have you got them open there?
I've got them open, but I don't. The thing is, I don't have a lot of answers for the cloney questions.
No,
the
that's
clone
true. I guess that's more
questions.
for me.
Okay, well, but what about this one? In the earlier episodes, Ayla did look towards Zephyr as a possible source of and explanation for her powers. Did you ever consider her becoming an active follower
That's
of
right.
Zephyr?
Yeah, we had that big conversation where you fought the priest and stuff.
Not really. I think she
Ayla
looked
was
at
never a
that. She was
follower.
like, "Oh, like that's interesting," but somehow didn't feel like it was the answer. Especially probably because like she'd seen Quill with like his connection to his god, and it didn't seem like the same. Like, I feel like she would have had to have had a connection already to have that power. So I think there was probably always a feeling of, no, that doesn't feel like it's the right source.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Ayla never felt like Ayla was never a follower.
No,
Ayla was like her
she
own
didn't want
agent.
to.
Throughout the whole campaign, it was like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and like,
Pretty
that's
much.
going to be it.
Like even when you met Thor, like
Yeah.
it was kind of more like a cool bro moment than a I am now your
Like,
follower.
Cool, I don't understand this, but cool.
For sure.
Gonna just keep doing me, though.
One question which kind of ties into the Ayla stuff, which I know is for me, was there anything further planned out for Ayla's clone storyline? Is there anything else to know beyond Alpine Elves clone themselves and Ayla was the one that made it to Aerois? There absolutely was. Like, I didn't have it planned out in loads of detail, but I had enough in my head where if it was something that Katie wanted to explore and like really like delve into, we absolutely could have done that and like explored it more fully. But it was also, I didn't want to enforce it. It was going to be like, it is here if you want it, but also if your character is like, I don't care, like I've got my family and that's who I'm going to focus on. And Ayla definitely was more of like the support of everyone else, like was always the one pushing everybody else kind of forward.
She didn't start that way, so to start with, I thought she would have had more of a like drive to find that stuff out and things, and that's how it would go. But as she evolved, she kind of just became, she was what I needed her to be. She was just a badass, like, and coming in every week and supporting friends by being a badass was what that was what I wanted at the time, and I just didn't feel like she needed anything else. Like that was enough for me personally.
Yeah.
I find it hard to make characters anyway, so to have connected with Ayla and just like really appreciate her for who she was, I didn't feel the need to go digging for more of what she was. I felt like I know her, and this is the most fun for me, so I'm gonna do this.
And that was why I didn't push it harder in the narrative as well, because like I put the thread there, and this is going to be a common thing with a lot of stuff that people have asked about. I put the thread there. You didn't really tug on it too hard, so I didn't develop it any further. Funny thing with that though, because Tom told me about this, and this is a funny thing me and Tom would laugh about, is I had not played any of the Horizon Zero Dawn games at this point, and when that plot started to happen, Tom was like, have you played Horizon Zero Dawn? I was like, no.
I didn't make that connection.
I was like, no, I've never played it. He was like,
that's true.
You probably should. Because apparently it's very similar kind of storyline to what we were kind of developing.
The way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's just the way it was. But like I never made that connection, and again, like Ayla and like that kind of environment. But like just never came.
I don't think I've made that connection until
No, I
just then.
didn't until right now.
But like Tom, I remember Tom was like, have you played it?
Yeah,
I just need to know.
I recently had played it. I was it was fresh in my mind, but it's fine.
I just want to find there was
playing
like
Gale in the next
alien
campaign.
clone from space stations rather than...
Like that's all
what
very
I
common
thought.
archetype stuff, right? Like it's all very like all of these stories are built on each other. But
I mean, at the end of the day, Ayla became more about supporting her friends and supporting these guys to have their stories told and supporting them through it, which I'm happy to do because that's what I wanted to do.
That's what you wanted to do, and also it's nice to have characters who are like that.
Yeah, I don't feel like you always need a huge
revealing
backstory. Like I feel like sometimes it seems like a lot of effort to build it in if it doesn't come naturally. And for Ayla, I was like, you know what, she's going a different direction, which happens. Like sometimes you'll come up with a character, and I think like Elora was a narrative there. There was, but it felt natural to pursue that. It felt like I know what I have to do. Ayla was like an idea, and then it became through playing something else, which was fine, and it worked the way it was.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hope people don't feel disappointed at the fact that she didn't have as much of a storyline as some of the other characters was, but I didn't feel like it needed to happen, and I had fun with the way it was. So
Ayla was Ayla.
Ayla was Ayla.
Yeah. And I think a lot of I don't think anyone would be disappointed with that. I think everybody was very happy.
A delight.
A delight.
That was her character. Nice.
So yeah.
We're back to the what was your favourite segment.
He's beating me to it.
What's your favorite?
What was your favourite?
We might need to change the theme a bit, I think.
Favorite?
There's about 10 or 20 different layering ideas.
It's Tommy Hazel and the favorite boy.
What was your favourite? Now I'm going to slightly change this question. The original is what was your favourite combat of the campaign where you got to do an unexpected, real cool thing? I feel like the boss fight thing.
We kind of covered it.
I'm going to slightly change it to what
got a
was the
quick one.
You go.
You know, in the Temple of Hesper, Temple of Time. So not the Johandrius fight, but the one before where we were
Trial of the
segmented.
Aeons?
The Trial of the Aeons, where we're in the past, present, and future, and we were all
confusing as
affecting
shit.
each other. And there was those orbs, and then but it was that thing where like we couldn't kill the guy in the future because we had to find his phylactery,
That was
but
just
we
a
could only
mechanically
find that
very
in the
cool
past. And I
Also, there's this whole thing with like my related LNS thing,
yeah.
but I wasn't there with them. It
Yeah.
wasn't communicated to me, so
Oh yeah, I guess it
It was
wasn't.
there's a
was ready
there's
to
a
pull on
whole
that
thing
thread.
that Mark likes to do by being like, oh hey Trot, you know how your character exists? Here's a statue. Be curious about it.
It wasn't a statue. It was an actual person, but yeah, like there was an actual thing.
But there is a statue
there
as
was a
well. There's
statue
like
as well.
the character's like, look, there's your
do love
relative.
a good statue.
I'm not doing
I
it
just
anymore.
met them.
I'm
No more
hands down.
statues.
No more. None of that in
statues.
campaign 3. No
Oh,
statues.
just
no.
one.
Well, to reflavor the question slightly, what was your favourite, I guess, unique or unexpected move that other people had done in combat? I mean, obviously, the blue bullet. Sentry suplexed a lot of boys.
Yeah.
No, my
And
favorite
just
for Sentry
landed on
was
stuff.
still just Sentry jumps off this thing and lands on this other thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on an airship. I'm going to jump down onto the monster. I'm going to fall off this building onto this person.
just-
A lot of that.
Sentry fell a lot.
Oh, I like
Remember her falling off the airship for the
Yeah.
first time.
Oh, and Yamalota, you
missile.
fell off that.
Yeah.
Fell off Yamalota.
When I grabbed the missile and then threw it back at the.
Yes.
That was
fun.
pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quill, you had a really powerful time
Time stop.
Time stop.
That was
yes.
insane. You were like, I have worked out all of these things, and I'm going to do this. Fuck you. Ruin this fight. And we're just like.
I remember how I described it. Like I can see all the potential futures and I make them
But you
all
had
happen.
it. You felt like you had it so organized in your head that I was just sitting looking at you
Quill,
like.
I feel like Quill was our Doctor Strange. Like,
Yeah.
like you did that quite often, where you'd like, I would watch you in a combat, and you'd be like this. You'd be like watching everyone else's turn, and I'd get to you, and you'd be like, I'm gonna cast this, and I do this, and I'd be like, you motherfucker! Like, oh, that's really good move. Or Spellbreaker. The amount of times where you'd be like,
Yeah.
Mass Cure Wound, Spellbreaker, everyone's free of this fucking thing that Mark's done, and I'd be like,
I know why Zakira hated me.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was just because I
You
was
and
causing
Lucius.
so much trouble.
you and Lucius were
I was
Zakira's
gonna say
enemies.
your stuff with
Yeah.
like drawing stuff into the gauntlet and throwing it back.
It was the sleight of. I remember the
Like,
sleight of hand.
yeah,
the
that
section.
one.
When you fainted casting a high level spell at Zakira, she
And
counterspelled
then
it,
she counterspelled
and then
it,
you cast a high level spell.
That was such a good
That
move.
was so me.
So cool.
I don't remember doing that.
You say that, you pull off a lot of similar stuff like that, where again, you'll be like,
tricksy stuff.
there'll be combats,
Tricksy.
Chris Trott, where you'll be like, I cast this spell, and I'm like, they're immune to it. Like, you've just seen that they're immune twice, and you'll be like, oh, I forgot. And like, there'll be like, and then there'll be moments in combat where you pull out the most insane Sun Tzu master tactician
Yeah.
And it's a
bullshit.
crit.
And it'll be a crit, and it's just, and it changes a fight, and I'll be
Everything.
like, he's a savant. He's like some sort of D&D combat savant.
Yeah,
where, like,
when you do
it'll
those
be
kind
like,
of things.
he'll just be like, la la la. I do this, roll dice, nat 20, I win. And I'd be like, what just happened?
Might be bipolar. Some days I'm like,
Amazing.
The first prismatic spray in the City of Glass. Down that was coming up.
That was
Or like the
Oh,
dominate,
wait, was
do you
that-
remember also rescuing Quill, the dominate monster on the Mind Flayer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a good play.
I don't remember any of that. I'm not that guy today.
That was
in the
good.
tower, I think I was stood next to you, and it was the first time your eyes like radiated all the different
Yeah.
colours.
Okay.
And I looked at you, and
Prismatic.
that was when I felt a little spark.
I rolled the dice.
What did you get?
7.
I remember at one point, I can't remember exactly where this was. I think it was like an airship versus airship fight. Ayla tore open like the cargo hatch and like pulled a load of people out of the ship.
Yeah.
I can't remember
very
That's
exactly
City
what
of
it was.
Glass. No, City of Glass. Gusthaven. When the
I think it was, yeah.
And then-
A ship
Yeah.
for some reason came a little bit too close to Ayla, so she tore the side off it.
It was, again, it felt
so
very
good.
Avengers. Like,
There was
like,
a guy who clawed onto a ship onto the Twin Star.
Yes.
He like climbed across a rope that he'd grappled onto
Yeah,
the Twin Star, and he
that was
arrived, and I
it.
just went, "Oh, that move,
I must admit, the one bit I was smuggest about was fighting the 2 headless horsemen, where I cast the portal
That
right
was
at the last
good.
second,
Oh,
so he
yeah.
got teleported.
And
I was like-
moved him from the fight, basically.
That was just so
it was,
good.
and then literally you fought them again, and then fucking Tom and his bloody
Temple.
of gods or
Temple,
whatever.
yeah.
And I'm like reading this spell, and I'm like,
You bastard.
But that was the thing that we
I should
had-
probably just have these guys leave.
We
but I was
spent a long
committed to the
time-
encounter at that
He's
point.
poking them through the window.
we
We're not
spent a
coming
long
out.
time like preparing that
Yeah,
spell
and
as
you
well. It wasn't like an
specifically
out
were
of
like,
nowhere.
you
yeah.
made decisions as well to get there early enough to do that as well.
Yeah.
It was so big as well.
Yeah,
I just
it
didn't-
had so many windows.
I think I didn't appreciate how strong that spell
Yep.
was in that
thought-
scenario.
Then Mark
Whoa.
went, "Oh, it has windows. She can see you through it." She casts the spell. And you go, no, there's no windows.
We didn't put them in.
I didn't really design
It's just
it
the box.
properly.
I want to build on this. I want to do another favorite with favorite in the top.
What was your favorite?
I was going to do story arc throughout the whole campaign because we had lots of different story arcs.
It's like pick
so
your
many.
favorite child.
Yeah, I want to know.
No, there's lots.
So wait, is this removing the final like arc?
I guess like removing.
Because that was everything culminated, right?
Yeah, like we'll remove like the final kind of like assault on Metropolis and stuff like that. Like, because there were a lot of individual little storylines, like, you know.
I liked when we first got to Gusthaven because we had
Gusthaven was a good arc.
we'd battled all through the wilderness. It fucking sucked. We were dirty. We were filthy. We were
I know.
injured.
Gusthaven, the flying city, or do you mean Rose Hall?
Gusthaven.
Gusthaven. So like
Gusthaven.
when
So
we
when we
first
got
arrived
to
there for Lucius,
when we got to Lucius's home city,
Like, finally,
and we're
civilization.
like, oh, it's nice.
Wait.
And then we found out unfortunately about your family, and then, but also like the fact that there was that intrigue and plot, and we just solved it by like going to the library.
fucking bumbled your way into it.
And we're like, oh, this book looks weird. Dunk. Oh wait, there's names.
It was literally, I think, Tom. It was somebody went, can I just make I just want to make an investigation just to see if anything's here, because you were about to leave the library.
Yeah.
And like Tom, I think it was somebody just went, can I just make a check to see if there's anything here? Fucking old perception boy over there was just like, 39. And I was just like, yeah, there's a secret fucking book.
It just says Ironstaff did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, something
Staff,
Iron Staff. Yeah, because there was an Iron Staff above the door like, when we turned around, and then he was there.
I think
we
it
were
was
like,
rude to Prince Aradan the first time we met him.
Yeah.
Because I was like, ugh.
Yeah. That's on par.
And he appreciated it because I was like, okay.
I think Ironstaff died because I was controlling Ayla for a session, and I think Ayla
you smashed
killed
the
him,
fuck out of him.
and it was my fault. I think that was the second NPC that died on my watch. There was also that guy in not Callie's Rest, Ironwick.
Yeah, Ironwick.
There was a character. I think for some reason the party was split. I think there was some that were going down to the ship and some that stayed behind.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
controlled
there
this
was,
NPC that was just this dad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the dad of the girls.
Yeah. He was a dad of a girl. Yeah. He was a dad of one of the girls.
And I killed him.
Yep, you did.
Galen.
Galen. Yeah.
What about so the stuff in Gusthaven? Any other favourite arcs or storylines?
Kelly's Rest.
Kelly's Rest.
I like Kelly's Rest.
With the whole
because,
the chapel and.
The chapel was chaos, but just being there in general, because we met other Guardians and then we did Spell Clash.
It was like the first kind of big fancy
Rose
town.
Meadow.
Yeah, Rose Meadow.
It was like a good little base where we set some good foundations, and then chaos.
Oh, and it was meant to be a lot more in Kaylee's Rest.
Yes.
It was like I made it as like a little hop town. I thought, oh, this will be a lovely little hop town. They'll be here for a while.
It would have been a nice little town. Yeah.
Across the world with thee.
You wrecked it.
Bye.
Yeah, that's fun.
I remember the end of that episode. As soon as we stopped being live, you went, "Okay, I'm going to rewrite a lot of things. Bye, guys."
If I can say one, so I love the Feywild stuff. I love Mesmera, the Thalia, Rose Meadow, Dandelion,
Dandelion.
That's really fun.
I really love that. Like, I read a bunch of Feywild stuff, and I was really keen to do it. I like doing the kind of playing on the fairy tale idea with Mesmera and stuff like that. Was really fun.
Awesome.
And I think that's why as well. Like when Eve, cosplay Eve, she did a Mesmera cosplay. I was just like, you have picked like this random NPC that I personally like really like the storyline of, but I didn't think was that impactful. And then to see somebody be like, no, I love this. I really love this character. I was like, oh fuck, that's awesome.
It was
like,
the imagery of the hands on
the
Grass's face.
cape.
Yeah.
That was dope.
I will come back to that in a second. Mine was Nova versus Quill.
Oh, that was an interesting.
That is the one I still
Yes.
think about, where I'm like,
gives me
there's many different
shivers.
ways that it could have gone. Like, it could have very quickly turned into Quill literally turning you into the Storm Chasers and saying like she's an agent of Starbane, and that would just be the end of Nova, right? Like that's.
Kim and Tom had to have a serious, "We okay, bro?" at the end of that.
Which is good. It's good to have that though.
It was a really cool episode though.
Yeah.
That was.
And I'm glad it went. I mean, obviously, I'm glad it went the way it did because it was the light ending, but it very easily could have gone like the other
Well,
way.
and it wasn't just that one episode. It was that there was a lot of build up to it with the ILS and like a lot of stuff going on, and
Yeah.
And again, the ILS was another way of like again seeding a little bit of Callus's personality and like kind of foreshadowing a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's probably the closest one of us has gone to defecting, right?
In the main campaigns, yes.
Either becoming part of Hadar.
Yeah. We've had mini-series where.
Well, I mean, it was almost.
Well,
I guess.
I didn't feel like I was going evil because Nova always thought
Yeah.
that she had the best intentions.
Yeah.
It was just she was using the ILS to get more information. She wasn't going to join Starbase.
And also, keep in mind, joining Starbane doesn't make you evil.
No.
Callus was lawful evil for a lot of it,
Yeah.
but a lot of people in the Valkyrian Empire weren't evil.
Yeah.
They just believed in a different way of doing things.
It was
I mean,
it was almost the arrogance of Nova thinking she was smart
She knew
enough to
better.
crack this
Yeah.
technology
Yeah.
to get this information and maybe even talk to Callus himself and be like, oi, bruv, what you doing? But like, you
Yeah.
know, that kind of naivety that she could just talk it out with Starbane, and the arrogance of like, I have this tech that I can use to get information for everybody. But obviously that's a fucking bad look when your best
But there was
in.
also an element of like, I think there was definitely some bits in those episodes where like what Callus was saying, Nova was like, I kind of agree with him, and I think that actually he's making a good point.
Yeah.
because there's a bigger threat.
Whereas like Sentry and Lucius were like, fuck this dude, I will never believe anything he
Yeah.
says. And that was
Yeah.
creating a moment of would Nova go, because like they were being
Yeah.
stubborn. Like they were like,
Yeah.
you
I
guys
think-
are being stubborn and like not listening.
For Nova, it was that like doing the kind of probability and tactics and being like, if this
Logical.
man with a giant empire cannot defeat Hadar, what do we like? Especially because it was so early on in our adventures, you know.
She was
what
Vulcan.
chance do we have of standing up against Hadar? You know, like.
So it
But,
was
like, I
being
think it
Spock
was-
instead of Kirk.
The thing is that I think that we knew that as people, but in character,
Yeah.
it's like there's really no reason that we
Yeah.
can trust you right now.
There was no way
Yeah.
Sentry was
Yeah.
ever going to work with
Yeah.
Callus at that point.
Especially
Just
because it was
no
so
way.
early on as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like it was
So
sketchy.
Lucius was all about the old teachings of Callus Starbane killed Tiaska.
Yeah.
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 And that's
I
why
agree
I
all
took
the way,
that
yeah.
hard stance.
And I think
So-
that also lent into the Vortensar stuff, right? Like the Ganassi never really connected with that stuff.
Nova never grew up being
Yeah.
faithful
Yeah.
to Siaska.
Exactly.
Stuff. It was never a
the
big
gods
part of
weren't really a thing to Ganassi.
So if we headcanon it a little bit now, instead of you defecting, if we forced you to defect, basically, we were like, we'd
You're
have
out.
absolutely
Well, I think I
nothing to
would've-
do with you. What would be the journey of Nova? Because I guess the character would be out of your hands at that point, right? Like,
I think Nova would have still tried to, like, maybe shifted the focus from trying to find more shards of Tiangong, because that's why she was on the Sparrow Blade in the first place and all that, because she'd just seen the space station, she'd seen the ILS, probably still trying to collect more information, like all this tech and all of that kind of thing. And I don't know if she would have joined Starbane, but I think definitely more research and then
Right, yeah.
seeing where that would have gone.
I can tell you from a DM perspective, if the group had basically kicked Nova out, what would have happened is I would have basically still kept in touch. I would have probably still spoken to Kim like privately and been like, okay, what would Nova do? Would she go and join Starbane? Would she work independently? Tell me what her plans are. Then I would basically like run Nova in the background and then maybe like have her come back in at certain points and maybe give it as a presenter choice of have Kim come in and play Nova again and be like, look, I'm still willing to work with you guys, but I've learned all this stuff, or like blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and give that opportunity for Kim to come back in as Nova, but also basically be like, no, like Kim has to play another character now. Like Nova is gone. I'm not going to run two separate campaigns.
Things that we were at that point in the campaign, we were just like, Brookstone! We would not believe anything she said if she went away and came back. We'd be
Yeah.
like,
It would have been gone, yeah.
But yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah.
so going back to Feywild, sorry, I know that was a while ago. Was Hope always planned to be a unique entity, the only centaur on Aerois, or was she adapted to have a reintroduction for the Feywild shenanigans?
Absolutely, yeah. So like, this is a bit of peek behind the wizard's curtain. When I made Hope / Rose Meadow, the peek behind the wizard's curtain.
Don't look behind the wizard's curtain.
But
Zim zam.
and this is very common. They were in Kaylee's Rest. I was like, cool. I'm writing the notes for Kaylee's Rest. Like, I want to fill the town out. I want to add some NPCs, create some interesting people, interesting places. What would be fun? Herbalist shop. Who's going to run the herbalist shop? I don't know, a centaur? That'd be cool. A Valley Girl centaur, that'd be fun. And then I was just like, but like centaurs aren't really a thing in Aerois. Well, maybe it's a mystery. Like they call her Rose Meadow because they found her in a meadow of roses and nobody really knows who she is. Done. And then when you guys were in Kaylee's Rest, that was all the notes I had. That was literally everything I knew about Rose Meadow at that point. And then again, when you guys kind of like, it was this fun interaction and you were like, this is a fun character, we like this character, I was like, cool, well, I'll develop her a little bit more. And I had the idea of like, oh, what if she's actually from the Feywild? That's why they found her, blah, blah, blah. And then again, she became a bit more of like, you guys would go back to her, you check in with her, you'd ask how she was. So I was like, cool, they clearly attached to this character. I'm going to give them a bigger place in the world. They're actually they're actually a Fey. Like, they're a powerful Fey being. That's why they were sent there to protect them. Oh, they need to go to the Feywild for Thalia's story, which I had also kind of like had in my head of like, she's former Fey princess. Why don't I tie Rose Meadow into this? And actually it was, the one who sent Rose Meadow away. It was all connected because these hunters were after her and blah, blah, blah. And then it all just kind of tied in together. And that's often like what you do as a GM. It's like that early game when you guys were in Kelly's Rest and Rose Meadow and Rose Hall and stuff, it's seeding a bunch of stuff, leaving it there, seeing what you guys are like. We really like this guy, or we really like this thing that we did, and going, cool, nurture, 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 and just leaving the rest of the stuff just to like, leave it there for another day. Cool. And that was very much the case with Hope. Like, she was just this fun NPC I put in. I had a blast playing her, and I think that often when I enjoy playing an NPC, you guys tend to be like, oh, we really like this NPC as well.
Your best friend.
Yeah, and so that kind of builds and builds and builds, and then that develops. And it's the same, that's pretty much the same for most NPCs.
Yeah.
Like, if there was an NPC that like the audience really liked, but you guys didn't really interact with, generally I didn't do that much more with them, and I didn't develop them any further.
Yeah, there was definitely NPCs that we had like that there's lots of questions. Well, what happened to Vezek? What happened to this?
I
What
saw that
happened
there
to
was literally a question about Vezek, and again, it was the exact same thing. Quill was in the prison ship. I needed to fill it up with some interesting characters so that Quill had somebody to roleplay with, and then also when you guys came to rescue him, give somebody that you guys might want to rescue. Like, give you new things to try and be like, well, we can save Quill, but can we also save these other people? Great, here's a bunch of other people. And I put him in. I was just like, what would be fun? A kobold with time and space magic, something to do with Valor. Literally, my notes were like, something to do with Valor, question mark. And I was like, that's it, I'm just gonna leave him there. And then you guys rescued him. You enjoyed him briefly, but then you never really went back and spoke to him. You didn't really like make an effort to like engage with that character more. So I just left it and I never developed it further. Because like, that would be a waste of my time. Like, why would I do that if you guys weren't, interacting with them? Boring answer, but a very technical DM answer.
It's good. It's interesting to know.
Yeah.
Because people that way people who ask about specific NPCs, that's the thought process. It's like,
that's literally
is there interest in like,
and
if there is, then it
as
gets
a
fleshed
DM,
out.
don't put more work for yourself, right? DMing, world building, I can't write, like, if you think that I wrote out all of this complicated world before we sat down to play, God no, that's impossible. So much of it is like just putting a little thing out. If the players interact with it, great, develop it, build it. If they don't, leave it. Like, there's no point writing 20
It's
pages.
disappointing, right? When you like put effort into something.
If I wrote like 2 pages of Vezek's backstory and then you guys never spoke to him again, I'd be like,
fine, now the waste of
What a
my
waste
life.
of time.
what a waste of time. But if I do that, if I put him there and then you guys are like, oh, who's this little fucking kobold? I want to talk to him more. I'd be like, great, develop him a bit more, bit by bit. So yeah.
Like Smeek.
Oh, Smeek. Smeek was the rare exception where like I think only a couple of you really engaged with him and like found him fun, but the audience really liked it, and I was just like, and Tom hated him, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make him more.
Crucial to this,
Yeah.
let's do a Lucius question.
Well, I was looking through them. There are 3 very similar ones here. Starting with, so Lucius started as quite a scared, one-dimensional character.
I didn't agree with that.
When you first started playing him, if you remember, did you ever envision him becoming the person he turned out to be? And adding on to that, Lucius changed a lot in the final arc. What was the driving decision to make him more serious?
I had always planned to flesh out Lucius as he goes and let the campaign grow the character. That's just the way I like to play anyway. Very much Cam Buckland. I like to go in with a stereotype kind of character with a single naive way of thinking, and then is opened up to new experiences, and then I like the challenges along the way of like, how would this character that's just experienced this for the first time react to that, and how would he grow over time? That's basically what I came to with Lucius.
There was another question as well that said, did you guide Lucius's change and evolution in personality, or was it solely influenced by what had happened to him?
Again, almost entirely at the whim of the environment that's happening around him. Like, I didn't know Gusthaven would be going to shit when we arrived there. It turned into a tragic backstory just got to lean into it. I love that shit.
Well, I remember you specifically, you went, Mark, here is my family. I'm not gonna make you do whatever you want. You literally were like, do what you will.
Yeah.
This is the character, here is my family. And then you just basically went, you can do the rest.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if you're gonna leave it to me.
And it wasn't just like, I've got names here. Like there were like,
Yeah, you gave me like notes.
Nanny
like,
North here.
Yeah. And like you also gave a little bit of relations, like, oh, he's not very close to his dad. He kind of is like trying to impress him all the
challenge
time.
with my
He's close.
sister.
Yeah, it was like these kind of relationships. And because like we had done some stuff with like Cam and like family and stuff, I was like, this time I think like it will be interesting to see how Trott deals with a more kind of like, yeah, like his family's gone, like, and he's now got to deal with that. Like this very, very flamboyant, very kind of silly, very like nonchalant character. And I wanted to put you in that position where like, yeah, you can't, you know, what are you going to do with this situation now? And I think it's interesting because I think like in High Rollers, like you and a few of the other guys, like a lot of, and playing with other D&D people, I found a difference with this. I found like playing with a lot of other D&D people, they will come into a campaign and be like, this character's goal is this. And I have got their kind of arc already planned in my mind. A couple of you guys are like, you don't do that at all. You're like, I don't have a goal. What I have is a concept of the character and I'm going to build them as we go. You're very reactive. You're not proactive. Yeah. Whereas like, I'd say actually with Kim, you are much more the kind of like, this is what I want my character to do. You are proactive in your character.
Even then,
but you still react, yeah.
I wasn't like a railroad my character.
No,
I was like, her goal is to find the shards of Tiangong.
Yeah, that's a different thing. Railroading is not saying you're a railroading character, but you have a goal. Your character is motivated to do something beyond what is happening to them. Whereas like Lucius was a character of like had no goal except like get to Gusthaven and like give Daddy the thing back.
It's basically like I crafted a character that's like I can't wait to exploit this character with the campaign that's about to happen to him.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
Yeah, you were reactive and then you have
it's like having a really rough stone and you're chiseling away at a sculpture.
Yeah,
I prefer that as well. I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's just different ways of playing it. Like I'm very much the same where I create reactive characters, but I've played with like my friend Gabe, who comes in and is very proactive. Is like, I have this thing that my character wants, and I'm going to work towards.
And that's sometimes amazing. For
it's
the
amazing
GM, right?
for the GM. Yeah.
It's like
and I want to switch it over to a question for Nova because I wanted to throw this because it kind of relates to this, which was, and I think it was the top one for you, was you put a lot of work into fleshing out Vortensar for the campaign. What were yours and Nova's favorite parts of it? And again, this is a good example of that. I mean, I say you're a proactive character, player, because you wrote an entire city. You were like, here is my hometown, here is all the lore, here is everything about it. There you go, GM. And I was like, thank you very much, this is amazing.
But it wasn't shoehorned in.
No. And I wasn't, if you hadn't gone there, I wouldn't have been like, I want my
absolutely.
I think the thing about that though was you did write some bits about it. Like you wrote some,
very small,
like there was a couple of
lines.
because I'm the kind of person where you sent out all the notes that you wanted us to see. I combed through everything, and then I was like, "This sounds interesting."
Yeah.
Bortensar.
And then you were like, "I want to develop this. I want to like build it into my character."
Yeah, and so you had the foundations, and I just kind of expanded on it and did a lot of stuff about the food, about opera and singing and music.
You came up with the statues.
The statues. Yeah, I had the idea about the statues and stuff like that.
The academy, the Atlas Academy, and everything else. Yeah,
because I was like, you know, she wants to be scientific academic, so it would make sense that there is a, and also because I just felt like because they were coming from outside of Aerois, there would be that kind of, even though the current generation had been there for a long time, the foundation of that would be brand new aliens to this weird planet, like, so they wouldn't necessarily believe in the gods. They wouldn't necessarily, you know, gel. Because you said in the history as well that the Ganassi originally went to war with native Aerosians because they were like, what the fuck have you done to me? You've kidnapped us! This is betrayal! Fuck you! Like, you know. So that kind of, I really like that you brought that in, was that kind of return to like older generational suspicion of Aerosians, and like that's why they sided with Starbane, because they're like, Starbane's gonna take us home. You know, and I was like, that actually really, that lines up. Generational trauma goes in cycles, like, you know.
Whereas the younger generations, ones who have grown up on Aerois and see it as their home, they were the ones who were like, no, we want to stay. This isn't the right way of doing it, and it's very much built into, you know, that's actually like how a lot of culture stuff works. Like, you know, you will get that, like, you know, as generations go on, you lose touches to where that culture came from and stuff, and that was very much.
I think probably you being a writer influences how you look at making characters and stuff, and how you enjoy that process of fleshing it out quite a lot, whereas I find that stressful.
You find that hard.
I'm like, like they're like, oh, well, campaign 3 character, and I'm just like, oh god, I gotta make another one.
Yeah.
Whereas you're like, I have
Kim had
ideas.
hers locked.
I have ideas.
Yeah.
Kim read through my notes and went, this. I will be
want
this.
this. Yeah, I just had this idea of the homesick alien. That was literally the first thing I wrote in my notebook was the homesick alien, and then it was going through your notes that I was like,
And
this
that,
is where
I think that's where the writer brain comes in, because that is a great archetype. It's a very famous literary archetype of a character. Whereas for you guys, you don't really know that stuff, so you're just like, that's why it can be hard to pick a character. Birdman, Whereas like I know for Rhiannon, when we were doing it Sentry, the initial concept for Sentry was, I want to be a Beast War Transformer Warforged, and I was just like, well, we just had a druid, so is there another class that we could do? And then I think we got onto
like,
the whole
no more druids.
Yeah.
No more druids.
Robot T-Rex.
But then we kind of moved on because we just had Elora in the watch. So it was like, well, what about like, is there another class? And you were like Paladin. I was like, so you kind of want to be Optimus Prime, and then that was where that kind of story developed from. But we had that kind of archetype in mind. But it's just interesting because there's no right or wrong way about any of this stuff. No. I just find that there are these two camps of reactive and proactive.
I definitely fall very deep into the reactive because I think when I'm making characters,
You did for Quill, but for campaign 3, you've been a bit more proactive.
I don't necessarily have solid locked in like things. I'm not talking about Lightfall too much, but Reynard was a temporary character, so I didn't have too much to add to him. So a lot of the stuff.
Reynard was like the most tropey archetype. You just was like, I want this. He was great, but
like
he's not complex.
His family was a surprise to me.
Yeah,
that was,
and I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was just reacting to that moment. But it was the same with Quill as well, where I kind of just didn't have anything locked in. There was a thread that because I basically like to give you. I like to give you means with which to stab me in the back.
I love it.
And
it works well.
And I just kind of throw out like a what if this, and that's my character prompt. Like there was a potential idea that Quill had a brother that betrayed him on his flight through the Valley of the Storms. And I was like, what if that happened? And obviously nothing happened there, but that's kind of the story beats that I sort of throw out, like, what if this?
And I think that's from a GM perspective, like with Quill, Tom provided me a range of these different things. It was like Quill's had these visions. Quill doesn't know what they mean. Quill comes from this. He was struck by lightning. There are all these different threads that I was like, I could have chosen like a lot of them to like draw from. And the brother thing was interesting, and I did have some like very loose notes of like when you go to towns, I maybe was going to have you meet him and like blah blah blah, have this stuff happen. But actually, what I think made Quill stand out and what was most interesting was the visions and the prophecies.
Yeah.
And actually, the role that you took within the group was definitely more that kind of voice of wisdom and like the thinker, the planner, the one who was like the seer. And I wanted to build more into that. Like I feel like Lucius became the captain, the leader. He was the voice. Like whenever you had to do speak to a character, it was often Lucius because again, playing a high charisma sorcerer, he was the one that would come in and make the persuasion check or whatever.
There was a bit where I was like, oh, there could be an interesting thread to play off, and we did start to do that with like, everyone's got like a higher purpose. Lucius is just an elf.
Yeah.
And I was interested with that facet of like, these guys are superheroes, they're about to save the planet. Lucius is a sorcerer.
But that made him a superhero as well.
That's the thing, he had to step up to it. Yeah. And I like that battle within of like, I'm not good enough. But then everyone's expecting these things of me. I'm now the captain with the captain's hat.
Yeah.
Well, at risk of giving you yet another question.
Well, you haven't had a question yet.
Well, I was going to say, there was one that says, how was it playing the only character that wouldn't want to be the hero yet had to?
I don't know, so
life after
I didn't really play the other characters. So.
What?
I didn't play the other characters, so I can only know from my own perspective.
I don't think Ayla particularly wanted to be a hero. She was just kind of along for the ride.
Nova just wanted to reunite Tiangong, and that was it, really.
I think that's a true
Did
hero,
Quill
though.
want to be a hero?
Like, we're not heroes, but secretly we're saving the world.
Yeah.
Sentry was a born hero. Sentry was Optimus Prime, like, until all are one. Like, he was the iconic hero character.
Yeah.
But I think but that also meant that, like, her moments of vulnerability made that, like, when you guys leapt to Sentry's defense and helped Sentry, that made you guys the heroes as well,
exactly.
right? Like,
True.
It's a strength in the ordinary, isn't it? It's just the
strength in the ordinary. It's a big, powerful theme. It's something that's. It's often like when we watch like things like animes and stories and superhero movies. That's why it resonates with us, because we all want to believe that in those moments we would rise up to it and we would be those heroes. We would stand up for the right thing and defend the innocent and stuff like that. And it's what D&D's made for. Like honestly, like again, going back to that whole thing of like D&D is a type of game. It is not really well designed to be a villainous, horrible, mean, nasty game. It is designed to be a fight the monsters, save the world game. And that's why it works really well. Like, you can do it. You can definitely do other types of game with it. You can, with a good GM, you can do anything. But it is designed and it feeds very much into that.
I mean, we did
idea.
Dead Reckoning, right?
Yeah, like I said, you can do it.
That was a difficult campaign to play, though.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, especially like sometimes when you don't like
making
That's the one I wiped from my memory.
But consciously making the decision to do the thing that's not a nice thing is difficult.
Well, it was interesting because like you definitely struggled with it, whereas somebody did not struggle with it.
I went in with the worst idea. My idea was just I really should have just workshopped it better. It was
that was still early on as well.
You know what the thing is it's hard to be a villain and still have a group of friends that you're not shitty to.
I think
because there's like so many times that you could be horrible to each other, but you can't derail the game. So it's like, how do you convey that you're a nasty person?
Yeah. It's a very.
I think there was an issue with perspective with that campaign where it was like some people went in as anti-heroes, some people went in as evil. I think Taryn was
Taryn was evil.
No, but they're actively still pushing forward with there was a purpose.
It was a very selfish goal. That was the thing with that game, and like this is where. Because I recently just played a lawful evil character in a thing we did for Idle Champions when I played Miria. And Miria was lawful evil, but I knew because luckily we played and I'd seen stuff with Worthless and Dead Reckoning and stuff, I was like, okay, well I think I've got a handle on how to do evil as a player character okay. Yeah. And that was like, she was selfish, but she had her own code of rules. Yeah. She wouldn't turn on her allies, she would try and help them, she was nice, she was polite, but she ultimately was out for herself. Yeah. And I think that was what Dead Reckoning was built into, and that's when if you want to play an evil character, you have to kind of be that. You have to remember that you still have to be friends at the end of the day, but you have to also be like, well, my character is going to try and do what is going to achieve their goal at any cost.
I mean, Ayla was a little bit like that. She was like selfish, but then I had to find a way from the start, which I didn't find at the start, but as we went, I had to find a way to be like, okay, she's going to be a bit of an asshole, but she needs to be funny enough about it to still want to have this relationship.
If you have that much of an edge, it does sort of almost get to that's the difficulty at the start of any campaign where it's like,
start of any campaign.
We need to make sure this group stays together.
Yeah.
But if someone is just not has not aligning goals, then it's going to be really difficult to justify it.
And that is ultimately a player's responsibility, is to be like, well, how am I going to change my character to make sure that I'm still going to work with these guys?
And I think the problem with Worthless was I was so confused about her from the word go, because I don't think she was evil. I was just so fucking confused about her. And I tried to create this very damaged character, and it just wasn't.
You don't have to worry about it.
I know, but it was a learning lesson for me, because I was like, I fucked that up badly. Let's never do this again. So if I go back to it, I would have brought Boomer across. Yeah. Because Boomer was so much better and so much more interesting because he was selfish, but he would go along because chaos.
Yeah.
I want to jump back into something Katie said, because I think that Ayla was not necessarily selfish. Ayla was very chaotic in that she was a free spirit. She was like, I'm looking out for myself, but you also developed very well into which was the perfect trope fit for Ayla, which was the found family. Yeah. She was somebody who didn't have anybody, and these assholes that initially you're like, these fucking useless elves, weak nerds. I like Sentry's okay, but the rest of them, but it became this like,
hold her own.
Ayla became I have to look after them, and it became this found family trope, which was great. It fit Ayla perfectly.
Yeah, because I think if you
didn't have to be nice to everybody else because you were nice to these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were selfish, it could have been things like you were stealing resources from the group. You were I
did take some gold from Lucius a few times.
I mean,
I was giving it away.
He was giving it away.
I just really campaigned. He was like, how much money is this? Oh, I've got hundreds of dollars.
So far. To go back to the whole using a bad character that won't gel with the rest of them can be, if you're willing to think beyond that character a great catalyst for the story. So, for example, if you're willing to let that character go and bring in a new character that takes that person's place as the future party member, that could be a great initial catalyst.
Or like work with the DM and be like, look, everybody
I'm
fucking
gonna
hates my
sabotage
guy.
this shit.
Like I'm gonna
Everyone
say,
hates
or
my guy.
like in the next combat, kill me.
Yeah.
Like really just like outright slaughter me.
then, like,
and then the DM can use that as a tool to have like a merciless villain like pick up and do like slick.
Yeah.
It's like that person was causing a problem, but it's brought the rest of them together.
I do think if
So
that
wait,
had
having
been
a
a private
character-
campaign, I would have said get rid of Worthless, like bring another one in. Like,
Sacrificial lamb, yeah.
So you mean having a character that you play for a while just to introduce your actual character?
Yeah.
Well,
That's really cool.
okay.
exactly
while
what
we're
Travis
It's like
It's
Assassin's
temporary
Creed 3
characters.
when you play as Haytham Kenway at the start, who is a Templar, and then you play Connor.
Well, I mean, like, not to
Anyway.
throw it out, but like, so I was saying to Trot, like, Travis in Crit Role Campaign 3, he did that. He played a character that then, basically is a way to.
There's
introduce
nothing
and bring the
original
fun.
anymore.
no.
No, nothing is
Son
original.
of a
It's just
bitch.
hard to do it when there's so many out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I've thought about doing very complicated things to Campaign 3, and I've then thought I should be a reactive guy that comes in with.
I listen. I will.
basic
I would
idea.
love to see you. I think for like moving into Campaign 3, I would love to see all of you. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but just a small thing where you're like, my character wants this. This is what my character wants. Like just that one line. I want X.
Bigger PP.
Because then that gives me a cool thing. Big PP.
Big
Well,
PP.
Sure.
there
You wanna
has
have big
been
PP?
there has
World
been a lot of
peace.
people because obviously like for Nat 20 high rollers.
Nat 1.
That Lucius, that one.
Aerois, Nat 1.
A big
You now need
swings.
to roll just dead
Average
center next
10.
You need a 10.
You need an average.
Big tenor.
But,
Should we do
a quill question? We haven't done
Yeah.
a quill.
Yeah,
do you want
question, and we'll do a
Willy
favourite.
boy.
Well, Quilly Boy. Well, speaking of characters
There's
that
a
you
lot
might
about
not
Perry.
like, there is a lot about Perry, and I know that you have thoughts on old Perry.
So what are what are
so,
the Perry questions? Just so I
Perry
can sort of
seems to
sum
be
it
a
up.
fairly contentious character. What were your thoughts on him at the time that you played him, and how, if at all, did they change since then? Do you think he could have been a viable permanent PC anywhere near to the extent of Keelek?
No.
I'm so glad you said that. I mean, because in my head I was like, no.
But what? Explain that. Like,
there
what's...
was like, I mean, I definitely was building a character with the intention of it potentially becoming permanent. I think if Quill hadn't got resurrected, Perry would have left the party and I would have just made a new character.
Why?
But
Why
there
didn't
was-
you like
why
him?
was
Why
that?
didn't you like him?
It just fell flat. He
Literally.
did have a story.
Fell out of a portal, right?
He fell out of a portal, yeah. And there was a guy there that everyone keeps... Torman.
Man.
Yeah, like he definitely had a story. I don't know how deep we went into it with the Cypher Academy, and there were these.
He would have tied very heavily into the Vortensaw stuff.
There were these elite units that go in trying to recover relics or something like that. I remember that being a thing.
It was basically like a part of the Cypher Academy. It was like the evil X-Men. So they had like more psionic powers, they had more unusual magic, they had like oppressive Professor Xavier, but he basically would have ended up working for Callus and the Council of Vortensaw and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were like the secret part of the Atlas
He
Academy.
also had like that portal watch that
Yeah.
was broken.
Yeah.
He wanted that recovered so he could teleport back to the Cypher Academy properly and things like that. So there
Quill
was
got rezzed, yeah.
there was more to him. I think when I started playing him, he was very quickly stupid. And I didn't actually want him to be a dumb character, but I kind of lent into it as time went on and he just became dumber and dumber until eventually it came to a point where I was like, he's just too stupid now.
Don't knock Norman.
Norman.
Nerman.
Perry, he was fine. I also just
put him
I think it wasn't that there was anything wrong with Perry. Perry just was kind of a bit meh.
he was an NPC.
Yeah. He didn't have main character energy.
Yeah.
He felt quite modern. Like, I don't know, in a sort of sci-fi, it was something not, like high fantasy. I don't know.
I think the issue I had is in building him is I didn't. Obviously, I had to build him quite quickly. I didn't read into the Vortensaw stuff as much as I should have for a character that would have been tied so deeply into it. And also, like, apparently, I knew Nova from the Atlas Academy, but me didn't do the research, didn't know anything about the Atlas Academy, didn't know much
Because
about
we
Ganassi.
talked about this. We literally had a conversation about this.
Yeah.
Because you were like, I'm thinking of doing a Fire Ganassi from the Atlas Academy. So I was like, oh my god, like, you know, we could do this, we could do this.
And then I was like, I like reactive. But it's difficult
Also,
to do
I'm
in
gonna
a
say this as
established
well.
universe.
Also, he just wasn't Quill, and I think you
Yeah.
had very clearly really loved playing Quill.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like pick up and play a new character when a character you really love. I think like, and not
Also,
to throw
there was
this
two
over.
down at that point. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
joining
it
the
was
party with a new
stressful.
character.
And I think that like there was a big difference because like with Aerois, I think you were really enjoying playing Aerois,
Yeah,
even though she
she's
wasn't
fun.
Sentry, she was fun to play,
Yeah.
and she very clearly had a role within the group still as like this captain, like this kind of she had like this thing going on.
Fill the gap.
Whereas like Piri, I don't feel like. It was kind of like this weird, like not Nova, but kind of, and
Yeah,
just didn't
I-
have this thing that
Thing
made their
is,
own.
in terms of like having to make him rapidly, I kind of there's a sick thrill I get from playing a character that if they die, I have no backup. So I'm always like, I won't let them die because I'm fucked if he does. So that's kind of why I hadn't had a backup in plan, because I was like,
I don't
it's going to
understand
suck.
people.
Not going to be.
I didn't have it. I
have
still.
5
Okay, so
characters at a
that's
time, ready to
a
go.
question that someone did ask was like, did you guys have backup characters?
absolutely
What
not.
were they?
Katie never does.
If Ayla died, I'd be like, right, I'm gonna go away until you bring me back.
Yeah, Katie would have literally taken like a 1 month hiatus.
Yeah. See ya. What about you, Trot?
I don't think about it until it happens.
But man,
So-
you wanted it to happen.
You were
Holy
edging.
shit, he didn't fucking die.
I
You were like
was
sticking your head out.
I was trying, man.
He
Why
didn't
didn't
die.
Every combat, you were like, me.
Why didn't he fucking die?
He was
was
so
built for
close
tragedy.
so many times. So many times.
I did the mending fucking thing and I survived that bullshit.
Because they had the one thing that
one
could save
thing
him.
that could
Sequester
save-
scroll! I was just like,
We did it! Yay! We solved
I
this
could just see
problem.
me and Trot looking at each other like, I can't believe he's not gonna die.
And then again, I didn't have a backup, so.
But I think out of all of us, like, I think you're one of the people that like very easily plays into other characters. Like, I think me and you are a bit similar in that like we can jump into new characters pretty easily.
If he did die, though, why did you want him to die so bad? Was it so that you could then?
He's such a good catalyst for everybody else. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Like
He
I
was
am
the
I am the
moment that we brought.
sacrificial lamb.
Captain, yeah.
Like I wanted that so bad, so that I was putting myself out there.
I think
So,
keeping you alive was our catalyst.
And even at the end, he was like standing up against the door,
starving.
going like,
Fucking
Why do you? It was when you were like, why do you get to sacrifice
Okay,
yourself?
you can leave now. I'll
"You
stay.
can leave, I'll stay."
And we were like, no, Shadow Monster, go with us.
Good. Thank you.
Literally, physically picking up and carrying him
I
away.
think there was a nice way of doing that though, where you weren't just being stupid and saying like, I'm going
Yeah.
to stand in front of the fire.
Yeah, I
Like-
always tried to find a genuine reason that Lucius
You never put
would
yourself
be.
Yeah, it didn't
purposely
feel
at
janky,
harm's way.
yeah.
Like there was just moments where it's like, this is
This would have been
perfect.
so perfect.
Yeah.
If you died.
Well, because well, it was the thing again with you and Quill being so squishy, was that you
So
went
easy.
so close to that point
Yeah.
quickly that there was a lot of opportunity where it could have definitely happened.
The party created so many good like backup plans to save Lucius because it happened so often that
And Quill.
I had
both
such a
of
big safety net.
Yeah, like Nova was always
Honestly,
like near him at
yeah.
some point. He's like just being like,
I almost wish that the Zarkira fight we had at the end happened maybe like a couple of months or like a year earlier, because if I had put that kind of lethality into a fight at the point where I still felt we could have brought in a new character to continue, but at the point that Zarkira was, I was like, please don't die. Like I need these characters to all get through the end, but I have to play this villain to the point that she is.
That's
So like when you
something,
kept
actually.
saving Quill, I was like, thank fucking God.
But
That was
that's
close.
something
So
that
He
people
died
close.
twice in that fight.
Yeah.
that is something that people were questioning, was the fact that you were like, right, nobody can get resurrected past this point, and then Quill got rezzed. Do you want to talk about, because you explained it
He
to
didn't get
us.
rest. He didn't get
No,
rest.
but
It was time stopped.
but you
I
explained
never
it to
died.
us
Yeah.
very clearly.
Yes, that you couldn't be resurrected. He didn't get
I
resurrected.
didn't get rest.
'Cause he never
timed-
died.
I built in,
I turned.
and I did that on
Yeah.
purpose. I built in the Valor mechanic, and I did it for two reasons. One, because it is a true representation of Valor's powers.
Yep.
Right? she has always been like that kind of and again, this kind of relates to a question. In fact, I'm going to read the question out because it kind of ties into this. That question for me was like one of the top ones. What sort of inspirations and themes did you have in mind when crafting the story of this campaign? That's a question for me, and it ties into like, you know, it was lots of anime inspirations and like Shonen and Dragon Ball and all that. And Valor was that character when like she's Gohan, right? Like in the like when the chips are down and everybody thinks it's all going to go wrong, Super Saiyan power up, and then does a cool thing. And so when she was trapped in that thing, I wrote in my notes, if they break Valor out, she triggers these powers, and one of them would be that she can basically bring somebody back if they've died within the last round. And I put all of those very specific conditions in because it was true to who Valor was.
It wasn't after the fact.
And because I'm not an asshole, and I knew that I was going to be trying to actively kill you guys, which I don't often do, and that might take you by surprise. You might just get unlucky. Remember, it's a game of dice, right? Like, if you had gone into that, and you even had that at the start of that Zarkira fight, you guys were rolling so bad. And there's nothing you could, all the tactics and cool plans in the world wouldn't help you because you just rolled like dirt. So I wanted to have something, like a barrier, a safety net, which was if somebody does go down, maybe there's a chance they can be saved.
But you did also say, like, if he had died permanently and that wasn't to happen, there might have been something whereby Siaska...
Yeah, I can talk about that.
Yeah, because I think that's quite interesting that you
So what I would have done with that was basically Siaska was with you. You know, she's the last god. She's basically the one who's like looking after the souls of dead Aerois. What she would have done is before Quill's soul was fully consumed, would have basically preserved it, allowed Quill to join you basically as like a spirit Quill, like where he would have had his cleric powers. Maybe he physically couldn't like hold people or touch people, but he still would have been able to join you and cast spells. But with the proviso that when Hadar was defeated, he would have to go. Like it would be like he is gone. Like he is, you can't bring him back. Wish spells, nothing like that would work. Resurrect, none of it would work. He would be dead, like 100%. But I didn't want Quill
like, you're not in the last episode.
Sorry, Tom, you're not going in the last two episodes.
The last one, please. Yeah.
So like that would have been the idea, is that you basically, she would have preserved like his spirit long enough to help you fulfill the mission. And that would have been true for any of you who died, not just Quill. It would have been the same for like Lucius, because I wouldn't want Trot to like, even if he had died in that fight, I wouldn't want Trot to not be there. So I would have had his spirit be there, and then basically with that understanding of that sad farewell, once Hadar's gone, is like, right, say goodbye because they're gone.
I'm glad it didn't happen because that would have broken me.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. I want to break you all.
I want you all to cry.
I don't be broken myself, I break others.
Yes.
That's what happens.
Kind of related to that, we got a Nova question tied to characters dying. Was it hard to make the decision as to whether or not Nova would return, and did you worry any of the rest of the cast while deliberating? Also, would you have considered not bringing back Nova if the campaign had been not been as close to the end as it had been?
So I had a lot of delay because this happened when we went on Christmas break.
Yeah.
So I had 3 weeks to think about this. So we actually had a Discord call where we spoke about this for hours, about what to do. And I ended up speaking to my therapist about this a lot, because it really hit me very hard. It came at a time where I personally was going through a lot of mental health issues. And there was a line about Stardust that fucking punched me in the heart, that sat with me for 3 weeks, and I had to talk to my therapist about, because I was like, this is really this is not healthy, this line about Stardust and needing to disappear into Stardust. So we had a long talk about it, and I think the general line was, if it had been a private campaign, I would have retired Nova, because she did what she set out to do. Mm-hmm. She stopped Vortensar from exploding, and to bring her back, I don't think would have fit if it was a private game. If it had happened earlier in the campaign, again, same thing. I think I would have brought another character back.
You could play Piri.
I could have done Piri.
Because you'd know the backstory, unlike Tom.
I would have done a better Piri.
There is one.
Well, Tornado. Tornado was my initial backup idea,
Well,
and I was almost Tornado until we struck upon the idea of Howard, and I was like, do you know what? I need to have some fun. Like, not that Tornado wouldn't have been fun,
No, but Howard was hilarious.
peak fun, and that was the absolute
And it was also
cathartic.
unexpected.
Yeah, it was the
unexpected.
cathartic thing I
So
needed
unexpected.
to do.
That arc was another good one.
So
by the
yeah.
way.
That
I like
was
that one.
so funny.
Belly.
Yeah, so it was a close thing, and when we did the bringing her back and Quill came, even though I had gone into that session going, we made a decision, she is coming back, there is going to be a sacrifice, she's lost Tiangong.
She lost every magic item, everything gone.
Everything about her was gone, you know, apart from her. And we came back with that idea, but then whenever it started, and you were RPing with me, I was like, what if I just changed my mind and this is the perfect time for her to go? But I didn't feel right bringing in another character
I almost
that late.
convinced you to. No, I'm not coming back to that.
That Pete was amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Between you two, that was awesome.
Tom was like, for the love of God, take my hand!
So yeah, so it was a very close thing, and if we had been earlier, if it had been a private campaign,
I
all
also think that like a big difference is that we had been playing Aerois for 5 years.
Yeah,
This had
and
been,
I
like, a
wasn't ready
year-long
to let her
campaign.
go.
I
That's
wasn't.
yeah.
And I said this to Kim. I asked you keep playing.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because it was when we got to that end, I couldn't envision an ending to the campaign that didn't have the 5 characters.
I don't think
I just couldn't envision it.
That's what swung it for me.
Like, and I know that
yeah.
that's bad because it's like some people were like,
No.
oh, railroading or something like that. I'm like, we spent
No.
5 years. Like, I just couldn't envision
That's what this
that
campaign was all
These
about.
characters
And that's
mean
what I
so
felt
much
as
to
well.
us.
Ultimately, what brought it back was I cannot see being anyone else in this final fight.
Yeah.
Like, I could not see it being anyone else. Like,
Lucius could have gone, but
You love Lucius. You love
you would have
him.
missed.
I love him. But I wanted him to be a martyr and everyone revere him.
Some of our artists did not want that, but Fail was like,
Fail's like,
"Frog
no."
mountain. I'm killing myself. I'll come to Bristol.
It's close.
It's close. Yeah. Let's do a favorite.
It's time for your favorite moment.
Jesus. Spoilers.
So I like this one. We've probably answered it a bunch of times, but it's always a fun one. Most and least favorite NPC and why?
Oh my god. Howard, number 1.
Out of everyone.
Howard
You
is
just like the
fantastic.
Bristolian accent.
I loved
Even
Howard.
you say-
Howard had a
real
breakdown, and it was one of my favourite moments
That was
overall.
Yeah. That was great.
Just the sweetest.
He was
a lovely
cozy.
boy. Yeah.
He was like a hug of an NPC.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Again,
like.
he's the everyman. He's the ordinary. He's this random halfling cook on a fucking airship
Just
full of
traumatized.
superheroes. And he's just like, why am I here?
He's so out of his depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about being out your dad. Fucking Howard. Have you made crumble, sir?
Iconic.
Spaces crumble.
I love that Crumble Belly became
Crumble
a thing.
Belly.
And I got all of you guys with that.
That was so
good.
Because I'd written that ability and I was just like,
Have the
yeah.
crumble.
So
I
good.
think a lot of my favourites are fucking Guardians.
Yeah.
Like Breeze, Lord Veracitor.
Yeah, he was
Like
cool.
that. Also like Herald.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah,
like that
Herald
was a
was
very
awesome.
cool art with the City of Glass.
Save Glass was cool.
Protector was really cool.
Yeah.
I like the Strike Squad when we were heading
Yes.
to Kalara.
Yeah.
I love Lookout. Lookout's great.
Yeah.
He was just there looking.
Just
I
like
like-
loads of eyes. That was his bound.
Loads of eyes.
Loads of eyes.
Ow.
I liked Smeek because Tom hated him so much, and Ayla wouldn't have liked him. But
If
there
he
was an
didn't know
opportunity
Quill.
to play off of him because he worshipped Ayla, and then there was an opportunity for me to annoy Tom. So it was just like a perfect
Yeah.
little situation.
Yeah.
Tom hated it.
I liked Max because there was just an honest.
Max was great.
Aside from the
Max.
hex, there was just a real honest
Max was
simplicity to him.
Yeah.
Like that was his goal.
stressed
That was his oath. There was no bending around that oath.
Yeah.
And like,
And I think that
yeah.
Max was actually the first time where I got to kind of show you that the Valkyrian Empire wasn't black and white. It
Yeah.
was grey.
Yeah.
Like
I-
Max, you were like,
We really
he's
wanted
so
to win him over.
Yeah, but like, you were like, he's so like honorable and
Yeah.
like decent, but he's committed
He's
to
in
this
this
empire.
empire.
And like, yeah, and I think Max was really the kind of catalyst that made Sentry go, maybe I'm not 100%
Yeah,
right,
exactly,
because like
yeah.
how could this warrior who I respect so much believe in this guy? Like there's got to be something to it.
Yeah,
And then there was like
He's
it
an
was-
honourable man, and like I just really like that simplicity of
Yeah.
like you could bend iron around his will.
Yeah.
Like
Then there's like little things like he smiles slightly and you're like, oh!
Or like the bit when I described his armor coming off and like everyone's just like
I don't think I have a least favorite. I don't think there's any NPC that I'm like,
okay, well, like a character that you like hate, like you were like, oh my god, I was so glad when we killed them, or like hated them in like a role.
I really enjoyed it when he beat the shit out of Gratz.
Yeah.
Like
That was
fucking
fun.
kicked his
That was
ass.
fun.
I was
That
like,
was
fuck you, you
Gratz was
bitch, fuck
Yeah.
off.
That will forever be one of my examples of why the official D&D books are very broken. Like,
We beat him up real good.
CR23, you say? Let me put him against my level 16 part. Oh no, they kicked the
He's
shit out
dead.
of
He's
him.
dead.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, 2 rounds.
That was
Like,
really
and it wasn't
cathartic.
even close. Like you guys in 2 rounds
wasn't,
had him on the ropes, and I barely touched
But
him.
it was
and I
so
like,
cathartic.
Yeah,
it
and
was
that's
such
I
a
was happy with
cathartic
that.
fight.
That's why I didn't like bullshit it. I was like, yeah, fair enough. You guys you kicked his ass.
but I don't think there's any that I'm like,
I mean, like Zarkira,
Well, Zarkira we hated, but-
hated her.
Yeah.
But that was
But love
no,
hate.
but,
yeah.
like I feared her showing up.
Yeah. Which is good. You want
Yeah,
that. You want
like
that.
I think she was the
Scared me.
biggest. I was more scared of Zarkira than I was of Callus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
By
yeah.
far.
And that was intentional. That was
Oh, yeah.
very much
Yeah.
intentional.
You did a great job of making me hate the Magronas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Brookstone, the whole Brookstone family.
Brookstone's like,
Brookstone,
The
the OG.
kids, the fucking kids that we met and like brought back, and then you fucking threatened to shoot one of them in the face in front of Brookstone.
Yeah.
I threatened to shoot Brookstone
Threatened
in the
to shoot.
face, saying like father, like son, because his.
That was so cool.
So cool.
I think like for me, for like favorite NPC wise and stuff, like I mean like, and I said this like because you guys obviously there was so much I couldn't tell you guys. My only confidant in the entire campaign was Nina, and me and Nina knew everything like about this campaign, and I remember because I came home after the finale and Nina had been crying for like hours because Callus Siaska like.
Yeah,
That was
That
like
whole thing was awesome.
that was
Callus
like
is
my story. Like that was like my little
Yeah.
bit of the story that I put in of like this love story and like this like eons tragic lovers who are reunited.
Well,
and,
Nina drew the whole like intro.
yeah, and like and so like and she knew that from the start. She knew that whole
5
story
years
and like
ago,
all the
yeah.
details. She knew that like Siaska was the one that killed herself rather than it being Callus, and like she knew all of that stuff. But honestly, Valor was a surprise as well. Like I knew what Valor was going to be, but like how much you guys were her protectors and stuff. That like really got me as
Here,
well.
have a knife, child.
Yeah, I loved it.
Early as well.
Yeah.
I love that was our response. Child needs a knife.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was like, well, she needs to defend herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that knife became the way that Callus tracked you for most of the campaign. Lucius and who was it? Lucius and Ayla's knives, I think.
it
or
was-
No,
like-
it was
Lucius,
Tiangong.
Lucius,
He had a shot of Tiangong.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah,
well,
that's right. Yeah. It had Lucius's
most of
knife
them.
and then shards of Tiangong. Yeah.
I liked Thalia's pie as well.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
hang.
That kind of
Yeah, I was
classic
surprised at how much you guys
sci-fi.
like, because like Thalia, I thought, okay, she's like Han, she's like drunk Han Solo.
What?
But I was surprised at how much you liked Kyrie and Big Cat.
They were cool. They were
Oh,
really
Bim.
And Bim,
Oh, my
forever
boy.
in our hearts.
He's still out there.
So good.
I mean, obviously, Petal's a big favourite for me.
Oh, you to this day, man, like that whole bit, like
He was
with
Sentry's
you.
North Star the whole time.
Yeah, honestly, like Petal, Rosemary as well. Like, I mean, like, fuck, I cosplayed her. You know, I love her.
Yeah,
like, she was
she's cool.
dumb. She was really fun to play. There was one NPC that I really enjoyed playing that I didn't get to do too much. Was like, do you remember the turtle who ran like the fighting? I can't even remember his name, but I liked
I don't have
playing
my
him.
notebook on it.
Yeah, I liked playing him. But yeah. That was a fun one.
Yeah, I don't think there's any like that we hate. Like,
No.
love to hate, but not like.
Yeah,
Oh God, I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
wait until we
There's
never
just-
see this
There's
person
just some
again.
NPCs that you just move on from quickly
Yeah,
and forget about.
That's it.
Not Sneak.
Here's an interesting one that I wanted to ask, which is for everyone. How does the ending your characters got compare to what you expected of them at the beginning of the campaign? Are there any
He
story
thought
beats
he'd
that
be
made you
dead.
change course of the
So-
character arcs and this way? Trots obviously talked about how he wanted Lucius to die.
Well, not at the start of the campaign.
I didn't think I'd have a space girlfriend.
Yeah, it's true. Space wife.
I don't know about why.
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
perfect, yeah.
There were a lot
I
of
think when you're
questions.
dating an archfey who's immortal, like
Yeah.
you can't really do the marriage thing. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, a lot of people were like, but why didn't Nova take the divine spark so she could live forever? And I was like, because,
it's not Nova.
I mean, also they were only dating for like, she loved her, but they'd only been dating for a little bit of that.
You gotta test that shit.
Yeah.
You know, she's an archfey. I'm sure there's ways she can find potions of longevity or
So
like extend
sad.
Nova's lifeline. Unlike poor Quill.
Yeah, I mean, like, the ending for Quill was the ending of Quill. I fully expected that. I'm not surprised by that. There was an addendum, actually. After the fact, I headcanoned a addendum to it.
Yeah.
And it's his... So, you know his Spear of Oracles summoned Elder Quill? Mm-hmm. I had it in my mind that eventually there'd be a point where Elder Quill wouldn't appear anymore.
Yeah.
Because it is literally Quill from the future.
Yeah.
So he would have foreseen...
As he got to that
almost
age.
like the time where... So
he knew it was coming.
yeah, and
Oh
he
shit,
would have.
guys, it's not happening
So,
anymore.
I had it in my head that Quill had made peace with the fact that he was going to die soon because Elder Quill was no longer appearing.
Jesus
I
Christ.
know.
Out of
Imagine if I said that in the episode.
this is the thing. So what I want to say about that is, out of everybody, obviously I knew Quill had a short lifespan, and in my head I was like, I think Tom will take the deal.
Okay,
And
so
I
yeah,
thought
we are
Tom
getting
would become
I
a god.
thought-
we are getting
Yeah.
ahead of ourselves a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
So
Let's
like
come back to that,
divine
yeah.
spark thing. If we talk about that now, like
We'll talk about this, then maybe we'll take a quick break.
Yeah.
It's like we've been going for a while.
divine spark was the hardest
Yeah.
decision.
Oh
Yeah.
god, yeah.
Yeah.
By far for me, like
Yeah.
where like taking the blood of an innocent person Sentry was a 50-50. This was an easy like 50. Like, it could have gone
Yeah.
either way for me,
Yeah.
and I was so on the fence that I was almost like I can't make a decision. I need someone to make a decision for Quill. Like I just cannot figure this out, and I presume everyone else was the same as that
Yeah.
as well.
I thought you would have taken it
Lucius
so you
got
could become the new Hesper.
Well, that
You were a hard no, were you?
That was a hard no, yeah.
Okay.
And
I kind of wanted everyone else to be gods, and then Lucius is like,
My time is
I'm
done.
going to die.
But I also, that would have fit. Out of everybody, I'll say this. I'll tell you what I thought was going to happen. I was like, I think Ayla will say yes. I think Quill will say yes. Sentry doesn't need to say yes because she's got the Prime Matrix and she'll live for a long time anyway. I thought Nova and Lucius would say no. So I thought Quill and Ayla would say yes.
Oddly enough, I think I said this as well in the post like donations thing we did, is that for maybe 99% of the campaign, if the choice had come up, I'd be like, hell yeah, absolutely. Like that's what Quill is
and that's
building
what
towards.
I was definitely alluding
I
to.
thought
Like
you'd be
Hesper
cute.
was trying to make
New
you his
Hesper.
successor.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd do,
Yeah.
was become the new Hesper.
Yeah,
But you decided not
nah.
to. Too much paperwork.
It was, I liked
think it was
the
that-
theme of the ending that we created.
I
as well with that.
really love that. When you said that, like, when it was the idea of, like, I don't think it needs gods.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
A world
oh,
without heroes. And
that
without
is,
gods.
like, such a poignant thing. And what you didn't know is that, to me, that ties into, like, one of the big inspirations of Aerois, this particular anime that is one of my favorite animes
It
of all time.
happened already.
But that go no. But what I mean is like in that concept, in that show, the way it ends is the world is very much like a world like it is very technological. It's about the spirit of humanity being more powerful than the forces of the universe, and like how humanity can overcome stuff. And it just in my head, I was like, oh my god, that choice and those wordings just aligned with the vision I always had of where that world would go. And I was really happy with it. I was just like, man, I can't actually think of a more perfect ending. Like to me,
I
ending was perfect.
Loved the choice that was made in the end there.
Yeah.
And, and the choice for Siaska and Callus and Vala to go as well, and
Yeah.
be like, this world is now for mortal kind. Like
If we had, or one or two of us had divine sparked it, would they have stayed?
they would have stayed because they would have had to, like, Siaska would have had to be your teacher and teach you what it is to be a god. Like they would have stayed. You know, Callus probably still would have given up the throne. Vala would have become the empress, like a demigod or goddess empress. But Siaska would have taught those who chose to become gods how to be gods. And then that would have been it.
So independent to everyone else's like thoughts, where did you fall on the initial like take it or don't take it? Where did Nova land?
Oh, I think it was 100% in that kind of what I said at the time of like, these are the things that Nova wants to go and do, but I don't need godhood to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I like you said, the spirit of humanity. Like, Nova did not see that she needed divine powers to do that.
To do the things she wanted to
She
do.
always had a scientific, inquisitive mind.
She was never a divine person.
She never put much in gods. Like, you know, she debunked them as titans, you know, and even fighting with Siaska at the end, she was like, it's not for me. So I think Kim was sitting there going, oh, I fucking love to be a god.
Yeah.
So good. But Nova,
Yeah.
like, absolutely, yeah. No,
What about
didn't make
Ayla?
sense.
I think it was kind of a 50-50. It depended on what everyone else did, because the idea was intriguing, but mostly from a point of view that someone needs to protect the world against Hadar still in case that threat came back. But if there was no other gods, then like how is anything going to happen there anyway? And she wouldn't have wanted to do it unless she had friends by her side, because she'd be like, well, what the hell do I do? Like, I even with Siaska teaching her, she would have been like,
Yeah.
What
No.
would a universe look like if Ayla was the only god?
I don't know. She'd just
build
be
that
like,
real quick.
Warhammer 40k.
Like everyone's just like the orcs. It's just war everywhere.
Just war never changes.
I guess for Sentry, because Sentry basically already was kind of very
Yeah, you were a
godlike to
god,
the
yeah.
Guardians, and like this would have just been the next evolution of that. One thing which I had in mind, which is if Sentry had accepted godhood, was you would have had the power to allow Guardians to recreate themselves. And like it wouldn't have been this
Yeah.
they need to be made by other people. They
Yeah.
would basically become this race of beings that can repopulate by themselves, and you know they would be a true race almost, like in the sense
Guardians
that they
can
can like,
bang.
well, maybe not bang, but like they can just make new versions. They don't need other people
How
to
do
it.
Babby Guardian work?
Why does there need to be Babby Guardian? Why can't they just make grown Guardian?
Fully formed.
It's like in Star Trek when Data makes lore.
I don't fucking know what that is.
But like that was like a thing that I was going to be like, you know, now that
Yeah.
you are a god, you have this power that you can basically give this ability to your people that they can create new versions of themselves. Like they can just, they don't need the Prime Matrix anymore. Like they don't
Weenus
need
now.
that. You are that. You know.
The hell?
I would have given you that choice.
do with this?
It would have been your choice to do it, but like
Yeah.
that would have been a thing that was put on the table.
I think for Sentry as well, after seeing the Titans and seeing how their own godhood corrupted them in a way, I think that initial fear would have been with Sentry as well. Like she wouldn't want to become the antithesis of what she'd been the whole
Worked,
campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. Made sense. Like I said, like for me, the two surprising ones was definitely it was like Ayla and Quill. Those are the two I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay. Because also in my head, I was just like, I didn't need to worry about Quill's short lifespan because I was pretty sure that Quill was going to say yes. And so I was like, well, Quill will always be around. But when you said
he
no, I was like,
dies. You're at
I
his
was just-
funeral.
I was like, I felt like it had to be stated because it was like, yeah, he would literally only live for like 4 or 5 more years, and then that would
Yeah.
be it. Like, Aarakocra short lifespan, man. Like, you know,
Sorry,
Apparently, law wasn't created by Data.
Fuck's sake, why do you have to do this to me?
it's Lieutenant Commander Data.
No, it was Lau. Laur's his brother.
Unbelievable. I thought you liked Star Trek.
I just misspoke, okay? I'm very tired. They begin with L.
Hey, should we take a
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break.
and we'll come back and do some more quiz quaz with your biz friends. Best.
Bye.
Bye. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, Troll's gonna get right on that.
Hey. Bye. Hey.
Everyone just look in the camera and just freeze frame. Hello, we're back.
Hi.
We're going to answer some more questions. We're going to try and rapid fire a couple because there was a lot of questions. We're not going to be able to answer them all, unfortunately. Hopefully we've answered some of the more interesting ones. We're going to rattle through these, and then maybe about 45 minutes we'll be wrapping things up. So it's going to be a bit of a broken up one today. But Tony's going to start us off.
Just a few more quiz quaz from your boy, TJ Hazzy in the hizzy.
Carry on. You just read the
This is
question.
the opposite of quick fire.
Sorry. So it's now been how long since the finale?
A while.
A while, which is now the longest period of time in 5 years that we have not played these characters. How
Wow,
often
Ben.
do you still think about your characters on a regular basis? Because, man, burned in, seared in.
Not quite a lot. Yeah.
I see my Lucius Mini a lot. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
Ayla's on my wall, so.
I'm watching Star Trek every day at the moment, and every day is how would Nova
Not
do
enough,
this?
apparently, to know about.
Will you stop? I'm going to throw you.
Actually, I've still got Ayla art as my background on my laptop, and it still is. So.
Oh yeah.
And it's on my. She's on my watch actually.
Well,
I've got pumpkins, Ayla art on my watch.
My iPad background lock screen is all different fan art.
Squirrel curls.
I've got the squirrel curls artwork from the very, very beginning of the campaign. No, that's fine. I watch on my phone. Ignore me.
Wow, what a liar. Fucking liar.
I am constantly surrounded. Like, I've got the shelves behind me in my office, which is covered in like there's the
I've got
quills.
Yeah, I've got Nova art.
I'm gonna be honest, despite having a load of Aerois stuff around me, I think because I've been thinking so much about campaign 3 and this special project that we've got coming up, I honestly haven't had time to really think about Aerois. Like, to me, especially being the GM, when we wrapped, I was done. Like, even coming into this Q&A, I was just like, I've moved on.
Well, you were even like, do we need to do a Q&A?
I was
and
just
I was like, people want answers. And you're like, really? And I was
done,
like,
though.
they want answers.
I was like, yeah, but I guess because to me, I'm already working on the new thing.
you're
So, like,
it's
whereas
kinda-
you guys, like, it's a bit different. Like, it's kind of lingering, right?
I think as well it's because like compared to campaign 1, this was a lot longer. So we played these characters for a lot longer, and they now leave a bigger gap that we like because we got to know them so well.
Yeah, and I know especially like for you, like there is so much of like you in Ayla and like and stuff like
pretty
that. It
much.
makes a big difference, right? So I mean, for me, it's like it's unfortunately not that much, but it's because I'm working on new stuff, new exciting stuff.
So there is a question tied to that as well, because the intention of Aerois was to play a level 2 to level 20 campaign right from the very beginning.
Yeah. Which we did.
What are your opinions on that? And also, how did everyone else feel playing 2 to 20?
I can tell you that from my perspective as GM, I'm super glad I did it. I specifically did it, like it was a thing I planned to do because I wanted you guys to have that experience. I wanted you to play level 20 characters and be like, man, we're fucking awesome, and like we got all these cool powers, we got 9th level spells, we do all this cool stuff. I will never do it again.
So few people are able to do it as well. I think without the commitment of us streaming, being adults,
no way,
being adults having lives and shit, it would never happen. We're one of the rarefied people that have done it. And
I'm glad that we've done it. I'm
It was
glad
really
that we
good
did
to
it.
do.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. For me, as a warlock, it poked some holes in being a warlock at high level. So I'm glad that I had the opportunity to multi-class, and that brought a whole new joy to it. I'm going to miss all the high-level temporal stuff. And gravity spell, I'm going to miss oscillating.
Well, you know, you say that, like, one of the things I talked a little bit about it, and I'm thinking about for campaign 3 and beyond and stuff like that, is like, I almost want to like maybe find a way in the future campaigns to kind of bring you those high level spells and powers, bring them in so you can use them at lower levels, but make it so there are consequences and costs for using them. So you still have that like, oh, I get to cast like a 9th level spell, but now I've got like another consequence attached to it.
2 months
but I
of
don't
diarrhea.
have, but also I don't have to deal with the nonsense that is making level 15 plus D&D content, because that killed me. Like, I'll be honest.
I think
fucking killed me.
I think I would have preferred to play a level 20 druid to a barbarian just because of how freaking insane druids are.
Yeah.
But I loved playing a level 20 barbarian. I loved playing a barbarian full stop, but it would have been hilarious to play a level 20 druid.
If I had to have a level 20 druid and a level 20 paladin in the same campaign, I don't think I'd ever run D&D again.
Yeah, what was it like being a level 20 paladin? Because
It was a lot of fun. But also, I think for me, like the levels so much were like a nice indicator of how far we were coming. But I also liked having like just the time to really craft a story together. Like I really liked how much of a slow burn it was and how long we could spend on each other as characters and really like growing our stories together. I really enjoyed that time. That was really fun.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
I think that's because as I went on, I started speccing more things around portals and gravity, and because
You found the way you liked playing.
I hit upon it at a point, and then I was like, "This is my life now."
For sure.
The craft.
Yeah, it does take a while.
Arcane Gate.
Quick
What
fire.
about you, Tommy?
I mean, I didn't get to level 20. Well, I did.
You did,
but
but-
not multi-class. I didn't get to level 20 cleric.
You got to like 17 cleric, right?
Yeah, I think it was,
cleric.
18.
Up there.
But yeah, no, I loved. I mean, he started as a bard cleric because I had a very well. I think there's so much crossover with bard and cleric that I basically was just a level 2 cleric, in my opinion. And I didn't use bardic inspiration because Quill wasn't.
Just wasn't that kind of character. You didn't play him as a bard.
Yeah, so I'm glad I swapped over to Wizard. and gain portent because it fits so nicely with his character as well.
Yeah,
It was a
But
smart
It
move.
did.
I like to. There was a sort of meant to be originally like a thematic sort of way of leveling up. Like if I spent most of that level aligning myself with Hesper and being cleric-like, god-like, then I probably would have.
Please don't. It's terrible.
I would have leveled up into cleric. But if I was more bard-like or wizard-like, I would have leveled up wizard. But I didn't do that. I ended up just leveling up cleric all the way, which was.
We need to ask Trot more questions so he doesn't get bored and starts playing with the PGZ.
Okay, well,
I've got one question I want to answer, and it will be a quick one. This was a specific DM question. Between sessions, what is the prep breakdown for the next session?
Yeah.
How long is spent planning maps, painting minis, building NPCs, assigning treasure, and readying combats? The honest answer is it varies. There are definitely, but on average, the honest answer is about between a week. Like, I honestly, a lot of Aerois was spent planning week to week. So it'd be like a thing would happen in one session. I would then spend the next week planning the next session. And that would be designing the encounters, building the maps, painting the minis, coming up with all the plot points, anything like that. Not much of it was done in big batches. Like there was only a couple of instances, I think like all the Kalara stuff, a few other bits where I prepped a lot in one chunk where I had a really productive day where I just wrote loads and then that would last forever. But most of it was week to week. And I would say on average, I would probably spend about 4 to 6 hours a week doing various bits of prep and content and stuff like that. So it'd be like, and that's when there's no mini painting involved. In the later stuff, when we were doing I was doing a lot of custom minis. There was a lot more. There was a lot more time of like ordering the minis, building the minis, painting the minis. I did find a really good technique to do it quickly, like building the terrain, all that stuff that I used at the end. I was building physical terrain and stuff. So that probably bumped it up to like a good sort of like 10, 12 hours, a week kind of prep and stuff like that. But also, I'm a big prepper. I'm not a DM who like comes in with like just like 5 bullet points and that's my session. I write a ton of stuff and a lot of it doesn't get used, but I just throw it away.
It's nice to have it in the bank.
I feel more confident as a GM doing it. But, and I know this is a tangent, one thing that I've kind of learnt from doing Aerois and looking at other GMs and looking at the way I run things, what I want to do for Campaign 3 is lean more into my improv skills, because I think back to like all your favourite NPCs, all the bits that like really made you guys laugh. Zim Zam.
Yeah.
It's the stuff I do when
Howard
I'm just...
having a breakdown?
Howard having a breakdown. One of the reasons that you guys love him so much, those are the times when I just go, fuck the notes, I'm just going to like go crazy for a bit. And like watching some other GMs, especially Brennan Lee Mulligan recently, I'm like, I need to lean more into that because I can do it. I just...
Chops for it, 100%.
I don't feel confident to do it very often. So I want to
do it more.
I got to do it more. Yeah.
it works every time. Speaking of hard prep, what was the hardest boss fight to mechanically crack?
Mechanically crack.
Like obviously after level 15 is when you were saying it was difficult to create encounters for us. So you started introducing a lot more puzzles and
honestly, Hadar. Because Hadar was the toughest to crack because I was in a difficult place where like we just had the Zarkira fight, which was so hard on you guys and was so brutal. I didn't want to do that again and just really come at your throats. But I did still want the fight to feel epic and important and complex. But I also didn't want it to be, we didn't have time for it to be a 4-episode mega fight. I had to cram it into 2 episodes max. And like that was also with like going through the keep and wrapping all the epilogue up. So I had like an episode of a fight. I had like 3 hours. And to cram everything I wanted in, that was really hard. And I look back and I'm not 100% happy with that fight, but that's okay. You're never going to be 100% happy with everything. But there were a lot of fights I was 100% happy with. Kalara, Zarkira, Callus, I was fucking over the moon with those. Atelicus, all the Atelicus stuff with the giant robot, that was tons of fun. But honestly, the hardest to crack was Hadar because mainly of the external constraints on it. Like, I didn't want to I wanted you guys to win. We just had the fight with Zarkira, which was really harsh and brutal. Yeah. Like, we only had 1 3-hour combat to get it all done in. Yeah. You know, it had to feel big. It had to feel epic. Like, it was tough. I won't lie. You know, that was the toughest one.
You did a great job on that.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think non-combat wise as well, someone asked your favourite non-combat mechanic, and it was the whole landing on Entropis. that kind of day that you had the map
Yeah,
and
you
we
had
were
to,
like split
the
up.
slay the spire map.
Genuinely
I still
my
have that map.
favorite
That was
thing.
really satisfying.
I
because
loved that.
For once, we fucking did good at
We
rolling.
did so well.
And that made, I think that made a big difference.
Yeah.
The fact you guys rolled well,
We
you made
achieved
smart
everything
decisions,
we
Yeah.
wanted to.
you did stuff I wasn't thinking of.
We like
And
And
we didn't
also-
spend 3 episodes doing it.
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes
We
like
actually
that's-
made decisions.
one episode. We
Yeah.
did it.
And again, like, but that's again more stuff. Like there's a lot of learning process, right? Like that thing, like that whole mechanic. Like I want to do something similar to that, or find ways to improve it. One thing I really want to try and do more for like campaign 3 is have like a hex map, and you guys being like exploring it and moving around and finding stuff and doing. I want to bring more elements of that in because I think that
Yeah,
worked
we
really
did that
well.
with Curse of Strahd, right? We had that map.
Yeah.
that we kind
Yeah.
of like we knew
Yeah,
where
kind
we were
of.
headed,
Yeah, but
not too
again,
much.
with playing with modules, it's a little bit different as well because
Yeah.
I'm a bit more limited in what I can do. But like, you know, I really like the Entropics thing. I thought that, and very much like it was, you know, I'd mentioned it, Slay the Spire, like a big inspiration. And it's why, as a DM, play lots of video games, play lots of different TTRPGs because you never know where you're going to get an idea from. Literally, that
It's
format of
research,
Slay the Spire-
Mom.
It's research, Mom. It's a really simple way of doing it, and it's like I think Darkest Dungeon 2 does a very similar thing where you have like that kind of dot lines, and you've got to pick which way you go, and you can't do everything, but you've got to try and do as much as you can. And
It really scratched that tactical itch of like tactics.
Yeah.
Like
And it was a unique thing for the end of the campaign as
Yeah.
well. It wasn't just
It
boss
was
fight,
really
boss
fresh,
fight, boss
yeah.
fight.
yeah, well, I didn't want it to be that. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted there to be a mixture of things. Like, even like the big going in through the Fenris, where it was like, look, this isn't necessarily going to be a full combat, but like it's a bit more like Mass Effect and like the Suicide Mission. You got to make choices
Yeah.
and like things are
Also
going to
the
happen.
split
And,
party thing as well. That was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
very
I
well
wanted
done.
that to be a big thing.
Good shit.
Ayla,
Hi.
hey, what up? It's time for that coin question.
here we go.
Now, obviously, do you want to have your first say on the coin before I ask the
Nope.
question? Okay. So you held onto that coin for a good long while and used it to perfection. What was it about that moment that made you finally decide to use it?
Ayla was getting pissed off because he wasn't listening. She was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
That tallies that, yeah.
Literally,
You know what?
Ayla was getting pissed off. But to be fair, I did have it in my head that one, it was funny because it was annoying the crap out of everyone that I wasn't using it. Two, I was always going to use it for something that was more important. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to use it for something for Ayla, and there was a lot of opportunities where it was like, oh crap, how do we get out of this situation? Like, oh, we can't possibly survive this. And it was like, oh, why didn't you use the coin? And I'm like, but there always was a way that we could get out of those situations, but there wasn't a way to get through to Starbane. And I wanted to use it for something that was Aerois, like something that affected the wider whole point of things. If it wasn't Callus, it probably would have been something to do with Zarkira, because that's the big threats. And
yeah, I mean, like, if you'd gone into that final fight and still had that coin, like, you know, with Val being
Yeah.
trapped, you could have used it for that. There's loads of ways you could have used it.
I could have used it then, but I wanted to save it for something that felt like it was going to have an impact on.
And boy, did you. And boy, did you pick the
that's
right moment.
That's the follow-up question is
There
that
is
I
no
want
what
to
if.
know. Like,
Kim wants to know. This isn't from chat. This is
no,
Kim.
well, it was from chat.
It's a
but
what
I was
if
like,
question.
yeah. So if we hadn't have convinced Callus with the coin, because that was a pretty like clutch move, would he have joined us in the end? How would that have impacted?
There's
the
another
events?
question that tied to that of, was he always built to be a companion for us?
Welcome to the illusion of choice. No, in a way, no. He was never necessarily built to be a companion, but I did in my hope, my sort of like what I would like to happen is you guys will fight him. And in that fighting him, you kind of prove your strength to him, and maybe you kill him, maybe you spare him, but either way, like, even if you killed him, there would be this thing of like, well, we're gonna go fight Hadar, we need the most powerful warriors, we need our strongest allies. Callus was the strongest and he was against Hadar. Maybe we resurrect him, maybe we like rebuild him, or like, you know, we spared him and we release him, and that you join him up. Like, in my hopes and dreams, you joined him up in the end, like 100%. But it was always planned to be a fight, and that's why even when you convinced him, I was like, fuck, I really want them to fight Callus. He would test them. Like, he would challenge them and be like, prove to me you're strong enough to do this. And so it still worked out. Like, a little bit, not railroady, but like, I always wanted you to fight it. Because like, it would have been, I think it would have been lame if you never fought it.
And it was such a good fight.
Yeah.
But it just would have been, what would have happened is if you hadn't convinced him, there would have been a lot more of that, like, Aerois versus the Valkyrian Empire, more warfare, like, probably had, like, the world map, like, more XCOM, right? I would have been like, Valkyrian forces are attacking here, the horizon is here, you've got storm. Where are you going to send your troops? Where are you going to do this? How are you going to fight back? It would have been like a little XCOM game.
So many universes.
Casually just stopping a global war with a stubborn little coin.
And that war would have basically inevitably concluded with you fighting Callus, like, you know, in some cool setting, you know, on the Tassadar or like on fucking Aerois.
Lesson for chat: if you tell me to do something, I am not going to do it.
Especially when you're playing Ayla.
Mark told me to watch Die Hard, still haven't watched it.
That's fine. I'm the same.
If someone tells me to do something, it makes me really not want to.
And it's like
so if someone asks it more, that just delays it.
Every time someone mentions it, everyone's like,
it's too ingrained.
It adds another month.
Yeah.
Like,
it just adds.
it's just like,
a follow-up question, kind of related to the we had to fight Starbane thing.
We had to.
We simply had to. How close were you in that final slobber knocker between Ayla and Callus? How close were you to striking a killer blow?
Yeah, that's right. Because I said, like, do you spare him or do you kill him? Like, is it non-lethal or lethal?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't there for it, was I? Was I?
No, the fight with Callus when it was
When it
down
was
to
all
Callus and
punches.
Ayla
I wasn't
punching.
there for
Oh, that's
the final
right. It was,
episode.
somebody else was
Mark
rolling.
some-
Yeah. Katie wasn't actually
I wasn't
there.
for a session.
But I
And
don't
think I asked
think-
you guys as a group.
I don't think that Ayla would have. I think she would have recognized, like, because it was a test of strength, and
At that
because
point, I think you had all established that you were on the same side.
she would have been like, right, he's got a lot of resource. That would be dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think she would have done lethal damage. However, if it was, I remember you got the killing blow on Zarkira, Ayla would absolutely have made the same choice that Nova did. 100%.
Or like if you had been fighting Callus, like let's say you had been fighting Callus as enemies, like you hadn't agreed to be on the same side yet.
Oh, it would have been a killing blow probably if that was.
I think for Ayla it always would be. If they were a threat,
If
Ayla
it
would
wasn't
kill.
for the coin and putting doubt in his head and having to prove our strength, then if it was the other situation, then it would have been a killing blow.
See,
Makes
you all
sense.
came around to Nova's way of thinking eventually. It took
Don't start.
4 years, but we got there.
A hole blown in the side of the airship.
Yeah, I remember when
you
you
know?
blew up the airship. Hey,
Killed some
I mean, that
wolf-pack
wasn't
people.
just me. That was technically Ayla striking it with the hammer.
After you concealed the fact that you had direct contact with Starbane.
Oh,
What
go
direct
back.
happening in
Happening again. You two just fight it out now.
Sentry.
What up?
I'm trying to find the question. Where'd it go? Here it is. You made some wonderful speeches and gave some great one-liners throughout the campaign.
Did
that
you
were
use
taken
AI?
As
ChatGPT wrote them all.
that were taken.
Do it!
Fuck me.
I'm really
Wonderful
don't make
speeches
mistakes.
that were taken as inspiration by PCs and NPCs alike. Where did you get the inspiration for all of these? Or was it just you leaking out of your character at the time?
Can I just say before you answer, whenever I would see that you had prepared something to write, like say, and like you had a thing, one of my absolute favorite things. Like I was like delighted. I was just like, oh, Rhiannon's prepared a thing, and I like sat here like, oh yeah, let's go. Like I fucking love.
He was pre-crying.
Just because like it shows such a commitment to the game and such an engagement with the game. When you're the DM and you guys bring something to the table ahead of time, like Kim writing all of Vortensar, you come in with the speeches prepared. Especially later in the campaign, Trot coming in with like plans of like what he wanted to do or some things he wanted
Your
to say.
endgame stuff, yeah.
That stuff.
Didn't
I just want to
fucking
let you
die.
guys know, and like for the audience as well, as a GM, that's my fuel, right? That's the stuff that makes me go home and want to do more. That's my fuel. Like, that's the stuff that makes me get so hyped and feel so like you guys appreciate my job, like in the game. Like, so that, I fucking loved every single time you did it. It was like real special to me. I loved it.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
But it was all ChatGPT, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all AI.
I guess a lot of the inspiration for Sentry, like, comes from just things that I like a lot of the time. Like, I speak to Mark a lot about it, like just the cartoons, 80s, 90s cartoons, Transformers, you know, like X-Men, all that good shit. Just people trying to do good shit and like
Be heroes.
being heroes.
Yeah.
And like Sonic. But it's also just like, I don't know, like just characters that have been through just the worst shit and have seen the most abhorrent things, but they don't lose that
Hope.
that hope, that humanity. Like they still keep chugging forward, like Samwise Gamgee, like you know, like
It's always Samwise.
it's always Samwise. Just
Yeah.
like people like that. Just
There's some good in
Can
this world.
I
It's
ask this
worth
as a question for
fighting
me? Because obviously, Sentry is a very motherly figure, right? Especially with Petal and like the PCs. But then obviously you had baby. Like,
Yeah.
do you think that like played a part in it? Because a lot of like what Sentry said was very parental and motherly. Do you think that it was that something that played into it? Because like that scene with Petal at the end, like I was worried that like, man, is this a bit too real? Like because there was that like mother-daughter relationship kind of thing going on. Like was that like ever a part of it, or do you think there was some bleed there, or?
I don't know, because like even before Babby was here, like there was always that part of her. I think I'd always wanted her to kind of be motherly in a way and kind of be a bit soft.
Yeah.
Because I think it sort of contrasts her exterior
Yeah.
by having this really
hard
nice
steel
squidgy
stone.
soft
Yeah.
interior.
Yeah, and contrast is such a great thing in characters.
Yeah,
for
it was really nice.
I think that surprised me because when I first saw your character art, and obviously because knowing you as a new player, like I thought you were going for that kind of, you know, Optimus
Stern,
Prime
right.
guard, yeah. And then the way you played her just always surprised, like in a wonderful way, like in a delightful way. It was like, man, like, you know, I just love the way, like you say, you mixed it up and like, yeah, did that. It's so different to what I originally thought when I first saw your character art.
Contrast is such a great way of like having that. Like it really highlights the elements to a character.
I also think a big part of that inspiration as well was going back to Tom's background, the squirrel curls original art.
Yeah.
Seeing that
Show
pose
up.
of Sentry standing over everybody, like she's at the back, but she's just looking down at everybody. She looks so gentle and
Still love
warm.
Yeah,
And like, I just saw that and I was like, that's it. Like,
that's it right there, yeah.
I love that.
It's
Do this.
one of this is like a spare thing, but it's amazing seeing how many of the fan artists and the fans who like watched early, especially like Squirrel Cause has done some amazing stuff for like other really big D&D shows and like done some and I just love the fact that like so many of artists have gone on to do super cool things now and like work with really cool projects and like work with loads of people. It's just really lovely. It's really nice to see.
I love all that. I would print out like all of the Ayla art.
I've got all of it.
group
Oh,
art
I've got
and
plans
just-
for the new.
just,
I've
like,
got plans for
stick
my
it
little
on the
corner.
wall.
Like I want to get like a huge board and start putting
Living
up loads
it.
of art. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so inspirational.
I would
got
have a
lots
whole
saved.
Ayla wall in my office.
Yeah, I've got a lot. I've got Yamarashi and Pegels for Nova, and like
Speaking of art, actually, you saying that like that art kind of helped inspire that kind of like feeling as well. Like, there's actually been a lot of times when art has inspired me or changed stuff in my game. Like, Vala looked completely different at the end in my head, and I describe her differently at the end after seeing Pumpkin and a few others do a certain artwork, like and making her skin darker and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, actually, no, that is in my head. Actually, that fits way better now. And like, there's a lot of stuff like that where like art will sometimes subtly influence and change and stuff like that. It's really interesting.
So you can be in campaign 3. You just have to do awesome art that inspires us.
wow, let's not go down this route.
Just make NPCs.
I don't want to scare anyone, but it's time for a what was your favorite? Does everyone, what was your favorite snapshot single image, the frame that you have in your head of Aerois?
I got mine.
Yeah?
It's that final scene. It's the bit, the vision that Quill saw.
The Valley of the Storm.
The Valley of the Storm, but the futuristic Valley of the Storm with the ships coming down, neon lights, with just this figure, which we now know is not Quill, this Aarakocra figure sat down, looking over the valley, the old temple, much older, you know, the lights, the stars, the veil, the cradle. That, to me, that final is just burned in.
Yeah, just near future
That
Aerois.
is Aerois. It's everything that all the inspiration, Gurren Lagann, the anime stuff, Transformers, it's all of that
Yeah.
combined into this image of like, that is my campaign. That is my campaign.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Good answer. Hard to beat.
I think 2 for me come to mind. One for an epic scale, and that is uncovering Root.
Interesting.
And I almost have this idea of like the huge, like half-covered,
That was
broken-bodied Root, and then
like,
tiny
massive,
us,
yeah.
like not even detailed, just
lava
tiny
and-
little us, like at his
Little
feet.
silhouette, yeah.
Lava and all of that. That's one of the epic images I have, and then the kind of more intimate is one of the many dinner scenes that we had with everybody, like in Gusthaven, and like the family, the friends, and the food and that kind of thing. Like
It's very like classic, like that kind of big damp banquet.
Yeah.
Another epic one, which will always be in my head, is that scene of the Astoria coming out of the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my big one. Yeah.
Like that again. That's like less a single image and more like I can see it
Yeah, there is-
animated.
that's what I was
like as an
imagining,
old
like-
like 80s anime, like the
Yeah,
water kind of pouring out,
Yeah.
like the airships and the
Yeah,
fighters
yeah.
flying out, these little dwarves like working on it.
Yeah.
Like that to me is like if I could go back in time and pay like a 90s anime studio to animate that scene,
yeah.
I'd be like, do it. Like,
Oh,
here's
crap.
$20 million and cocaine, go.
That just triggered in my brain.
For a 10-second scene.
One that stuck with me for ages, Quill's Flight.
Yeah.
That was one of mine.
That one.
Just I think just a moment of people, like the party on the deck of the Storm Chaser, just existing on the deck of the Storm Chaser, and like Quill being able to fly again.
The Quill's Flight scene in my head has the How to Train Your Dragon music. Like I just hear the How to Train Your Dragon music, like the
Yes.
Burke, Welcome to Burke music.
And the lightning rod.
Yes.
That was a vision before it actually happened as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the visions are definitely like very visual things.
I know that you guys love those. There'll be
like the
a lot more of those.
I
to
should
come.
hope so.
Trot.
It's all a vision. Campaign 3. And you were there. You were there.
Quill asked a question. So all of campaign 3.
A lot of those I share, like the dinner party ones. Lucius being a statue on the back of a futuristic motorbike.
I forgot about that.
A bike that we just then immediately forgot about. Like,
I like that bike. That was a fucking
Yeah,
statue.
Lucius had an accident. It's fine.
I completely forgot that was the
Yeah.
thing.
that happened.
Oh, brilliant.
Lucius and Quill sharing like just a little sat
Watchtower.
down. Yeah.
That was
with,
going to be
like,
my answer, yeah.
I love the fact that I got to like go back to that as well.
That
I was
lovely-
pushing towards that as hard as I
That
could.
was so lovely.
Mine is Quill's tongue after his jaw got blown off.
Oh god.
Trying to speak.
Like Resident Evil. Like guy with the jaw falls off.
Oh, that's hateful.
Jesus Christ. There's so many great moments.
There's so many great
Yeah,
moments.
Quill
Like
getting
the
his Storm Eye, I
Sit-
think, is another one. Like,
Storm Eye, City of Glass, like when you guys fighting Velocitor,
Yeah.
the prismatic spray, like
Everything in space. A lot of the space
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah, space stuff. Like first time you're going into the Infinite Corridor and stuff like
Yeah.
Oh
that.
shit. Hold on.
Everyone
So-
landing on Entropis, like when you
Yeah.
said we're the tip of the spear.
With like Siaska, yeah, you guys,
Yes.
Siaska, Captain Marveling
Yeah,
it
yeah,
alongside
yeah.
you and stuff. Definitely, like, I guess because it is fresher in our minds, but like that big superhero stuff. Even like there was that fight in Gusthaven when you first fought Zarkira and they had the metal dragon. But, like even in my head, like I don't know, like that. I just imagine like that scene in the Avengers where they're all in New York and they all come together and fighting. Just like in my head, that fight plays out like that, where it's just like Ayla like jumping into the deck of one of those ships and like beating up loads
Yeah,
of dudes.
yeah.
The Steel Predator chasing Quill up the mast and like Lucius and
Quill was
Zarkira,
dying.
like
yeah,
Quill was like trying to avoid it. And, like,
That's
like,
recurring
There was a
theme
face-
here of
Was
like.
it a face spider?
it was a
Yeah.
Steel Predator,
Yeah.
yeah.
Still- yeah, and then it-
Retriever, it's called.
Yeah.
Retriever.
Another one of my
Gravity.
favorite moments.
That's, yeah, everyone's like favorite boss fight, the ones where Quill died. Your favorite visual is the
just-
one where Quill is dead.
No, my favourite visuals. I just remembered this one.
I liked Ironwick when you could see the glowing spaceship.
The green
under
ship and the
spaceship.
lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was-
that was
so
all-
much stuff.
The tree
yeah.
blowing up in
yeah.
with Kalara
Yeah.
when I blew up the
The-
tree with
Oh, the giant tree.
And there was
Yeah.
the Guardian. Fuck, what was the Guardian's
Protector.
name? Not Protector. The
Hot
the one
Shot?
Hot
Hot
Shot when
Yeah.
like,
Mega
she
Man. Me Gay Man.
overcharged the gun with Gay
Yeah.
Man and yeah, blew up the thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
the
cool as hell.
thing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cool things.
So many cool moments.
Hey Nova. Do you want a question? What one?
I'm pretty sure you've done all mine.
No, there's there's a lot of Tiangong questions.
Okay, I guess we haven't spoken about Tiangong yet.
There you go. That's it.
That's it.
That's the question.
Wow.
Tiangong?
Question mark?
Well, I try and find the one I was looking at a second ago. Yeah. Answer the question then.
What's the question?
Was there a possibility of reuniting Tiangong as a whole, and what would have happened if you know the answer?
I mean, that's a Mark question. Like, was there ever a chance of Tiangong fully?
Of course there was, yeah. Absolutely.
And well, actually, no, we spoke very early on of like, if Tiangong had fully formed, well, I would have lost my weapon. So I probably would have lost being a Hexblade warlock. And respect as something else. Like, there was the idea when Artificer first came out of like, maybe I would, recreate everything as an Artificer, but then I read Artificer and I hated it.
The thing is you could have stayed a warlock. You probably just wouldn't have been a hexblade.
Yeah,
anymore.
there would have been a
I would have
change
either had to have made a pact of the Eterna.
Yeah.
Where like it's a
that
different
could have been
thing.
cool.
But you would have, because Tiangong would have still been able to give you power. They just wouldn't be this thing that you carry around as a specific weapon anymore.
Yeah.
They're, beyond that. But also, I mean, there was always a thing of even if you collected all the shards, Callus had all the other shards. Like Tiangong was never going to be reunited until you either beat Callus and took his shards.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that the story we ended up telling was better than that. Like, I think the
So
idea
good.
of like losing Tiangong, but then Tiangrong being like convinced and like
Yeah.
absorbing the memories.
That was really
that
cool.
moment was
Very,
so good. Like,
definitely a lot of inspiration from Vision in like Scarlet Witch and stuff like that. But like, that's
cool.
hey, it's okay to be inspired by
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, Ship of Theseus.
Okay, to have a more Kim-centric Nova question then, what happened to Nova and Thalia after the finale? Adventures into space?
they broke up.
What?
That's quick.
Dreams shattered everything.
I could have been a god.
No, I think, like I said, it felt like a very fresh relationship. Like, so I think they would have just carried on as is, like whatever. Probably, some work still on Earth, not Earth, Aerois, and like helping Vortinsar do whatever they wanted to do. But definitely, I think there would have been spaceship adventures, and see where that relationship.
I think that,
goes.
like for me in my head canon is like there were still a few little threats left over that, like, especially where once Quill's passed and like other people are doing their own thing, like Gratz probably would have come after Thalia and Nova, and you could have had like Thalia and Nova versus Gratz kind of
Yeah,
like
we would have kicked his
adventure.
ass again.
Yeah.
Ayla probably would have found you and been like, let
Yeah.
me join you.
Oh,
I want to
messaged you and
kick
been
his
like,
ass.
hey, going off to Gratz, one in.
Yeah.
I'm on my way.
I'm already there.
It's like little things like that I can imagine, but
Yeah.
also like you got to remember like Thalia and Mesmera, like there was still a lot to rebuild and sort of like rekindle
Yeah.
there and like work to do in the Feywild. Like Thalia definitely still had a lot of things that I think she would have felt guilty over and wanted to like still make amends for. So
I think it would have been an exploration of the world afterwards, and if they stayed together, they stayed together. If they didn't, they didn't.
I like to imagine a kind of Arwen Aragorn thing of like Thalia basically being with Nova until she's old, and then and then she moves on because she is kind of immortal. So like it's I one of my favorite jokes of the whole thing was the whole thing of like, how long do you want me to mourn for? A year? Yeah, okay, I can do a year. Like that was one of my favorite little jokes.
A whole year.
Like just that mentality of like, how would an archfey deal with this?
Yeah.
Like how would they really care? Like
They're
I
quite
guess,
whimsical.
they're like, that'll do.
There's a really interesting question for Quill.
Oh.
Were there ever any questions Quill didn't dare ask the Eye of the Storm, or were there any questions that you regret not asking?
I got one for Trot after this as well.
Yeah, there's I think we said it in the series as well, is to not ask questions about Hadar as much as possible, because I don't think we ever had any reason to believe it necessarily, but we just had an idea that the moment you ask a question about Hadar, you're looking upon madness itself.
Yeah.
We've become insane.
Yeah, and it would just suck you in. And now,
yeah.
had I have asked a question about Hadar,
Bad things.
Bad.
Like I had it in my thing. I don't have exact mechanics for it, but I always said that like if Tom asks questions, if like Quill like looks into Hadar, it would be bad. Like it would have been like a shit ton of psychic damage. I maybe make some secret rolls that I don't tell you about, and then I'd probably
It's
be
another
like
way
narrating
in,
nightmares
right?
and stuff.
Hadar.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
And you saw that, and I think you'd already picked up on that because like Sentry and Lucius had come very close to like, and there was still this lingering force on the two of them. You had seen there was some times when Kim was talking to me about using using a spell called Contact Other Plane and was like, can I use this to ask Kadar? And I was like, you certainly can.
Yes, please do.
Please do.
Yeah.
So it probably would have had a very similar effect to the Contact Other Plane spell, which is basically roll a dice, and if you fail the saving throw, you go mad.
Right, yeah.
Were there any that you regret not asking? Was there a question for something in the campaign? Has something happened that you were like, I wish I'd asked a question about that?
I don't think so, because, I mean, obviously in hindsight, I'm very happy with how the story went, so I don't feel like there's any now that I'm like, there were definitely things after a session finished where I'm like, I could have solved it with this.
Yeah.
But I am happy with my usage of an incredibly powerful item
Well,
like the Eye of
can I
Storm.
say something on this as well?
Go on.
Because I talked about this on my own streams, and I've talked about it a lot. I use the Eye of the Storms as a example when I talk a lot about DMing, because I was like, look, this item is incredibly broken. Like, I have literally given a player the ability to ask me about the future, and I will tell them an answer to it, or to like look into the past to find out the answer to basically any question they want. And I gave it to you because I trusted you to use it in a way that was only going to make the game better. And you delivered that. Every time, you never once used that power, which you could have easily misused. You never once used it to like break the game or like to benefit only yourself. You only ever used it to make the game better. And I am so happy I gave that to you, and so proud of you as a player as well. Like, that was such a pro player move. The way you
is this like an intervention? Are you trying to get me? What's going on?
No, I'm complimenting you.
You planned this, didn't you?
The police.
You motherfuckers, you won't get me. I'm hard as.
But like, it's an example of like when you have the right group. D&D doesn't need to be a balanced game. You can give a player an incredibly unbalanced thing if you trust that player to use it in the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you used it sparingly. You used it when it was something serious.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
And that didn't cheapen it.
He does this like Tom does this amazing thing where he would wait to near the end of the episode when he knew that you're like, okay, it'll be good time for a cliffhanger. And he'd be like, Mark, I want you to ask the eye question. And I knew that you were doing it to be like, let's end the episode on a cool vision, because it's a great fucking cliffhanger.
I'm a content creator.
You know it, yeah. But even like if we weren't streaming it as like a private session, that would still be epic thing to do, because then it's like you're not thinking about it until next week, right?
That's always the best part of D&D is when you finish and then you're like, I've got a whole week where I'm thinking about this thing.
Yeah. And and honestly, if you have that, tell your DM about it, because honestly, like I said, nothing gives them more fuel than knowing that everybody at the team. You did,
be straight in your DMs.
I'm also talking to the people out there. If your DM does something that makes you think about it for a week and you're really excited for a game, tell them. Like, nothing makes them feel better than that. I got a question for Chris Trott. What was the decision process for you as a player of Lucius developing a romance with Prince Aradan? What factored into it?
question.
Number one top rated question for Lucius.
This guy right here had no plans.
Never plans. Brain, no valleys or lumps.
Smooth brain.
Smooth brain.
Even with his like sexuality, even his gender, I kept it all very neutral, very blank. Just seeing how things filled in over time. And honestly, with Prince Aradan, seized the moment.
Yeah, I think you even said afterwards, like, you were like, it just felt like in the moment, like that was the thing to do. Like, and you did it. And I love it. It was great. I think all of us were like, what?
In that moment was the most I had embodied Lucius, and
you just felt like this is...
I connected, and like that was me being Lucius in that moment.
It was great, and it fit really well, and I think like it would create this great moment for the players and for the audience, and like, you know, I felt the same way. Like, I felt like you really just became Lucius in that moment, and like that is like somebody who does like LARP and roleplay. Like, you can tell when somebody like just becomes them, and like they're in that headspace, and I think that was really cool.
It wasn't Chris Trott like, how do I kill off this character?
Or how do I do something funny for the stream? It was like you were just playing the character.
In Lucius at that moment. So
yeah,
beautiful.
That's great. It was beautiful.
It's really nice.
It's nice as well to have a very unambiguous, like, we already had Thalia and Nova anyway, but to have a very unambiguous male like romance, because that doesn't happen that often.
And
like,
it felt natural. It
felt
didn't
natural.
feel
It
like
forced.
token, like, I don't know, like whatever. But
I really loved the way that you did it.
Fit
like
them.
Lucius could have gone so many different directions as
All
well.
the directions.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like there was a bit. I think when we were talking a long time ago, you were talking about him being more asexual, just like not really being a sexual person.
For a long time, it was
Yeah.
like Lucius would probably be asexual, but
But then he found the right person.
Found
And sometimes
the right-
that's how it goes. Sometimes.
because with Faith, for example, which is brought up so many times, I'm sure it's another question.
It
here.
was a question,
It
yeah,
is,
what
yeah.
happened? Like,
Yeah.
Again, it like
is the question.
Lucius did that for Faith in the moment. Like it was to help her. It wasn't necessarily for him.
Yeah.
It was to help the
Give
situation.
her like a break out of this kind of awkward situation she was in. Yeah.
And I think that was discussed. Like it may not have been canonized in the episode itself, but I'm sure he would have had a discussion with Faith of like, like where we stand with each other, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's that classic thing as well of I rolled a random table and like Lucius didn't have any agency in it. And again, those are the lessons where I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to roll and then enforce something on
you
a player
did
character.
ask though. You
I did.
ask
I did.
this time.
But like, it's that kind of thing of like, that was a random roll, and we turned it into a cool moment where this character who was like, great, I now have this like safety barrier where I'm in this, marriage with this person that I trust and like I feel safe around, but I don't have to have any romance things. And you know what? Honestly, I think that Faith probably would have like moved into the castle and been like an advisor and helped, but like, and still would have cared for Lucius, but also cared for Aradan. Not even in a relationship way, just as like a friend. She would have just been like their friend who like came and hang out and like advised, gave advice to Prince Aradan, because she was very intelligent, for the Wolfpack and stuff. Like she was definitely one of the smarter members.
And again, that came out of a comedy moment.
Yeah.
Like Lucius got plastered.
Yeah.
And
I
ended up
rolled the
married
dice.
in the day.
Yeah.
So I think we made that into quite a sentimental moment, really.
Yeah.
A bit of a U-turn here. What meme-worthy moment from the past 5 years has stuck with you the most and still makes you laugh? There are
I think
some
this has to be the last
examples.
question.
There are some examples, but I'm just wondering if there's any that stick out to you.
The fucking cows.
Okay.
It remains.
Kill
The
the
cows.
Yeah.
The cows are just like the classic one. I always remember that.
Cows was good. Smaller memes for me. Burgeoning perception is always like it's like the funny little things that we would say.
Yeah.
But number one's got to be the wish. Like
Yeah.
I rewatch that short.
Yeah.
I never rewatch our content because I hate seeing myself. I have watched that short so many times because like watching your
Satisfaction
face.
from you.
Yeah.
Well, it's like seeing both of our faces,
Yeah.
like me just being like, like, it's that little thing of like something just triggered in my brain, and I'm like, what did you say? And then you're like,
oh no.
that is like my number one comedy like scene. Like
The birds as well.
the
birds.
They're smarter than Sentry!
The metal crates.
Okay. Now, I want to...
Metal crates, I don't care about that much. It's fine.
I just like saying it though because this happened.
Look, maybe this is playing into exactly the issue that happened in Metal Crates moment. I don't remember the Metal Crates meme.
You just
was
said
such a
it
pointless
so
thing.
many times. Like those
Mark
things on the map
described
are
the
metal
scene.
crates.
Like everybody said, like, oh, what's this? And I was like, oh, there's a series of metal crates there. Oh, do you want to use the metal crates for cover? Oh, are you going to move next to the metal crates? Like it was a lot of this.
Yeah.
Right.
I like people looking at the
And then it
map
was
and
your turn.
highlighting it and pointing at it.
It's amazing that even now you're
Still don't know.
adding to the
know
meme.
what it is. You're adding to the lore of this.
I don't think...
Years later, he still doesn't know what they are.
I watched back the episode and I blacked out. There's something about that series of events that is just coded into my brain to just shut down.
But I think about things that like lasted the entire campaign, and I think like burgeoning perception is one. Like that was like consistent.
Burgeoning
Like,
perception. Just the way you said it. as
Sentry
well.
falling off things. Like that was another great. I love that. Like a little.
I like Tornado, and Tornado's like
Bro.
just,
It's all about this, bro.
Oh, actually, for me, when I fucked up about the daisies, when we went the vault where you guys found the lance,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I'll go outside and have a moment with Thalia where I'm like, look at the grass.
Oh, yeah.
She was
And you were
I've
like-
seen
From the fucking
grass.
one.
Yeah, I'm a fucking you
Paywall
nerd.
princess, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I've never seen flowers and
Yeah.
grass, but you were like, you're from space.
I've never seen grass before.
It's nice of you to bring up that vault that I simply had to find in the middle of a war, because it was the same spear that was the only possible spear that could have gotten Valor out of her cage in that fight.
Not the only way. There were spells that could have been used. You just didn't have them. Like there was a bunch.
You
of stuff
didn't
that
Doctor
worked.
Strange that shit. You were just greedy.
I was just greedy. But now everyone's gonna say.
Well, no, I think we all agree that you finding Starbreaker very much
Pivotal.
saved your fucking lives a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like, and again, like I didn't put that item in there for Sentry. Like I was like, fucking, if you'd given that to Ayla or in the end of the campaign, Nova with a 4 million attacks with Starbreaker would have been just as fucking scary. But honestly, like that fucking item was like, yeah.
It was totally
lessons
green.
learned.
Like, look at him in the vault, in Howard's vault. Just
It was the only.
taking gold.
It's why I look like one of my favorite. I remember Tom's
being like, this is why.
refusal to accept that he is a loot goblin. Like Tom, there are 3 things that Tom Hazel loves. He loves fucking like moments that create these great moments, like with the eye. But he also loves dealing huge amounts of damage and looting shit. You are like the most quintessential D&D guy.
It's not dealing huge amounts of damage. I also loved healing for 700. It's just
Basic numbers.
It's just I want
like
to crash
numbers.
D&D Beyond.
Especially when it's numbers and loot.
Like just when I became like the guy looking after the money and my inventory said like 30,000 gold. Fuck me.
It was when you said the amount that was in the chest, and he was just like,
Tip that in.
Howard had
It's just
said,
my
you can take
ancestral
this, and he was
gold.
like,
It's already in my bag.
So
Sorry,
good.
I've already got it.
Lots of heroes.
The fact as well that you knew these ghosts were going after Howard, but you were just like, yeah, but I can get one gold.
Well, no, that was the thing. The ghost
The
went
ghost
after the
were
person who would loot the most. I was like, I'm helping.
I'm helping. So funny. Yeah, there's been some great moments. I think we've had some real moments. Unfortunately, I think that might have to be the last go, unless there's one more we want to squeeze in for like everybody. But
Nothing burning for me.
I mean, we could, I guess, do an Aerois question, or we could ask, what is character creation like? Leading, and not with giving away characters. Obviously, we don't have anything to give away too much for campaign 3,
Whole
but
character sheet.
we are in the midst of building up this new campaign. Building up the story.
you have
How
an
is-
idea. We had a pretty solid idea. Like we've got something to build on for you.
Where we all sat. Like for me, I have a pretty strong idea of my character in mind, and I've given you knives to stab into my back.
We're working at like with you. I feel
I
like we've
have
got
given
something.
you his
We're
weapons.
fine tuning the details. We've got to
Yeah.
figure out exactly how it's going to work and what's involved. There's a couple of things that like we got to think. But again, very baked into the world. Some key parts of the new world, Althea and Ilmera. We've got that kind of baked in. I know that like Rhea and Kim have had their idea. Your characters.
We've had a meeting.
for a while.
We all know
they're-
each
they're
other's
all done.
ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've had
Yeah.
our character sheets done for years now.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there was a question that was, what does character creation look like for high rollers? And I think, like, for Aerois, we were kind of separated in our character creation, whereas, except that there was
we
some...
rolled all the stats and stuff together, but like
in terms of like actually designing our characters, there were some people that were very independent. They built their character, and that was like, okay, I'm going to bring this to the game. Whereas, well, I guess like me and Rhee had a lot of chats about Quill and
Yeah.
Sentry because we knew each other before. But like for campaign 3, we have had a chat. We all kind of had a big discussion about.
That's not the end of it as well. Like I want to have like another chat with everybody once we've got ideas a bit more locked in. I want to have a chat about like, because I would like this campaign to start with some of you guys knowing each other. Rhee's character is going to be completely separated from everybody. Like when we begin the character, I can tell you that much. Like because of the nature of her character, she is going to be separated from everybody, and she's going to be coming in a little bit separately, same time as everybody else. But like just there's no way any of your characters will have met her or interacted with her before. But yeah, we basically get. I think the easiest way is like we do like a session 0. We get together, we talk about ideas. I share like a document. I have been using a program called Notion, which has been really great for me to like build out more of the campaign. I send and share the page with the guys, and then you guys can look on it and find some pieces. I am reshaping some things since we did the Twitch game. I'm kind of like changing a few little bits here and there. But like I know for like Kim, you found a specific thing, like a little RP flavor thing I wrote just because it was in my brain, and you seem to like really be like, oh, I really like this story you've written, and I want to build onto this.
I'm actually, so a lot of people in chat are joking about how I've probably written 3 books of backstory by now. I'm actually going into this one a lot differently. I've written nothing. I have ideas in my head. I have key beats in my head. I've been thinking about this character for a long time. but I haven't written anything down, and I'm not going to write anything down. I'm going to try the
Be a bit more
reactive
reactive,
approach,
yeah.
like, you know.
Welcome. Welcome to chaos.
But yeah, it's one of those weird things as well, I guess, because I've been thinking about this character a lot, and so I almost feel like I know them a lot already without having to write something down and figure out details.
That's quite organic. That's good.
Yeah, so I'm trying for the reactive thing rather
I'm
than.
confused who I'm sat next to. You're not writing hundreds of pages and you don't know Star Trek.
But I am gonna murder you.
There she is.
Yeah, no, there's a few interesting things. Like, there's been a lot going on, so like we definitely want to kind of like lock it in, and like obviously Babby and stuff like that. So we want to lock it in, but I think we've got a pretty strong like basis now for most people, and we're going to kind of build on it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a very different campaign. Like this next campaign, the first Althean campaign, the first story in Althea, is going to be a bit different. It's not going to be a level 2 to 20 thing. It is going to be a bit more of a sandbox. It's going to be a bit more of a like see what you guys get into and like what places you want to go to and stuff like that. Aerois was very much a campaign that had a very strong central arc storyline. It was more video gamey, and it was Mass Effect. It's like the Reapers are coming, Shepard, and you've got to stop them. It was more like that, with then loads of choices and branches and things that they could do. This one, I kind of want to make it a bit more like, here is a cool world. There are problems in it, but let's see what you guys want to do and what you want to interact with, and like we'll build from there. So
Intimate.
yeah, I think so. I think like it builds on something that a lot of people said, which is some of their favorite moments from High Rollers are the smaller stories. And actually, I want to lean more into that and be like, cool, like more Rose Meadow, more Callie's Rest, more stuff like the Feywild, like little bits like that, which is more intimate and more like specific, rather than this big overarching plot. Because I feel like we've done that.
I mean, I've latched on to a very, very specific, particular, really cool mechanic for the new campaign, and I am very excited to continue developing the character. Well, yeah, but like the themes of it, I really like.
Concepts and stuff.
And yeah, I'm really excited to sort of continue to develop the character and sort of chat with other people and figure out their place in the world.
You've all picked stuff with your characters that give you very specific things to get involved in, like whether that's a particular culture or a particular race or a particular magical thing or a particular part of the world. Like you've all got these very cool kind of like inbuilt things, and then I think what's going to kind of bring everything together is the kind of political nature of the situation of the world that you find yourselves in.
I think we're all going to be feeding into that world growth as well. Like, there's going to be more stories.
There's a lot of empty space on the map. I've purposely not I'm keeping the map pretty empty just so that like, hey, you guys will be like, I come from the hometown of blah. And I'll be like, cool, what province is that in? It's here now. Like, oh, it's near a river.
Well,
bam, I'm going to put it on the map.
What I'm saying is this first campaign 3 is not going to live and die. The world is not going to live and die with the first characters that we play.
Absolutely not, no. In
Aside-
fact, you're probably not even going to see the entire continent. You're probably going to be just in a main province. You might go to some other places, but it's going to be fairly contained. And that means that we're going to tell that story. There's a lot of other stories to tell in that world, like a ton of them.
So we're not going to get teleported from Callie's Rest to across the world.
Into astral
Lessons
space.
learned. Or into astral space, no. But yeah, so yeah, very exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff, and there is exciting stuff
yeah.
in the works as well in the lead up to it that I think
it's
you're
not
going to love.
Too far off. Campaign 3 is not too far off. Again, we still don't have a firm date, but it is gonna be soon. Keep watching our social media, keep an eye on our YouTube channel. You will see we're gonna have trailers, we're gonna have little teaser videos, we're gonna have like interviews with the characters or like, videos about the characters. You're gonna see a lot of that kind of stuff. We're gonna have some one-shots, we're gonna have some mini-series, loads and loads of stuff happening now that we're kind of getting there with the studio and the set.
It's being built as we're going.
It's happening.
It's happening.
It's happening.
I'll finish the tome.
Yeah.
There it is.
But that is going to be it for today's stream. Like I said, we do have a very special thing coming up, which will probably be our next stream that you guys get to watch.
Yes.
But for that, we need to gather our party before adventuring forth. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Hey, bye.
Bye.
Hey, bye.
Bye.
Hey,
I'm just going to keep smiling.
Hey, bye.
Bye.